What is up, RotoGrinders? Start 2.5 plus hours NBA. Jeez, it's NFL DFS. Good Lord, it's week 18. You figure I get it right. It is the information slates. They're all information slates with this one, more so than most. Usual suspects, my guys. It's Bobby Gomes. It's Chris Kirkwood. We were just talking about a pre-show. It's funny you guys are talking about how if it's a good slate to get a bunch of minute money in on, or a bad one. I feel like we had kind of mixed reviews or multitude of thoughts, I suppose. Somebody, by the way, thinks they're on mute, and they're not on mute, I believe. I'm not sure, where I'm just hearing wacky noises in the background. Maybe that's just me and my end. I'm still waking up here. Kirkwood, what's going on, dude? How are things in your world? A variety of teams with a variety of motivation. Some of the motivation is kind of like dependent on what other teams do. You got to pay attention to this one. You got to pay attention to the actives that drop 11:30, and also the late games as well. Some potential liars out there as far as coaches. Some teams it looks, are there any teams you're just like, I'm not playing anybody from that team, and that's that?
Pretty much every team.
You got to fill out a lineup. That's the thing.
I have a lineup. So I feel like today is a max entry slate. I think the people who mass enter are going to have a big edge because there's a ton of unknown. However, I don't have time to do that this morning, so I'm hammering in my couple of lineups everywhere, and I'm already anticipating a loss, which is good because if I win, it will feel much sweeter. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to protect myself from the downside because this is a crazy week. I have bad flashbacks of George Kittle just absolutely burying me when he went for the records that year, and I faded him, and they just literally threw him like the fourth quarter. They just gave him every pass, and like it was just so tilting. But like yesterday we see like Mahomes didn't care about the individual award, so I guess the way I'm looking at it is the playoff motivation first, right? Like I want guys that I can feel comfortable are gonna be out there. Second is the cash incentives over the personal achievement awards. Like I don't think these guys, I think if they get them, they get them. But, maybe Jefferson's different. I don't know. I don't have a take on that yet, really. I'll let you guys form my take. But I think the cash does matter to a lot of these guys. So
there's not a lot of those out there. The ones I know about, the Cooper is apparently even his coaches are talking about him getting over 80 yards or so, which would be a career high. I think Njoku, his teammate, he's like 50 or so. I don't see a lot of other big cash ones out there. Unless you, by all means, we had a couple yesterday with your boy Christian Kirk, who needed about almost 100 yards or so to get $500,000. I think it was, and I believe he got there.
Dude, yeah. I would have smashed. I won. I played Kirk. I would have smashed if Lawrence would have hit Zay Jones, and that the pass that head chopper could have easily floated in right to him in the end zone. Did you see that play?
I saw a chunk of the game. Lawrence was not great for what I saw that game.
He was horrible. He was horrific.
Yeah. Let's bring in Bobby. Bobby, what is your thoughts as far as this slate? I think you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you might be mass multi-entering this slate. It seems like a good one to get to, you could really hone in on the stuff you like, or you can kind of spread out if you want to do it that way. Like yesterday, people were like, oh my God, Ronald Jones, who could have seen that? Ronald Jones is going to be like the seventh. There's like 9 Ronald Joneses today scoring touchdowns. Like, what? This guy scored? Get used to that goofiness as far as week 18. Good morning. Thoughts as far as this slate?
Yeah, just the information slate, pretty much everything Kirky kind of talked about. I think it's a good MME slate. I'm MMEing today. Like this Bills stack a good bit. Diggs, Allen, everyone's going to be playing Jalen Hurts, I feel like. So, I don't know, pretty heavy on the Bills. They got that narrative where they want to come out and play well for their guy, so they also need to win. All these teams with incentives, like, just pay attention to what the incentives are and try to build around that. There will be one of those games, though. I feel it's like the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game to me for some reason. I feel like that game or a game like it is going to be a game that's going to go overlooked. And you have guys like Cooper and Njoku who have incentives. Deshaun Watson, like, I feel like he just wants to finish the year strong. His props are absolutely egregiously bad though. So I think one of those games go off. I like that game a little bit, but mainly the Stiggs Allen stack I think is the way to go today.
Watson's coming up his best game of the season, where he completed 9 passes. But if you're wondering how his year has gone, he did have like 3 touchdown passes. I think it was 9, but he got sacked a bunch. I do agree. I don't really love the quarterbacks in that game, but I do like. I mean, Harris is going to get some popularity. Freiermuth is one of the most popular tight ends in the slate. I talked about liking Cooper. The coach is openly talking about they want to get him his career highs. I think he gets there. So yeah, that's amongst the 13 games. It's one of the more I don't want to say sneakier games, but I like that a good bit. You mentioned Buffalo. It's a bad matchup, right? They're facing a fully motivated New England team. Your Patriots. Patriots win and they're in. They're probably not going to win, but we'll see. Stay tuned. But I will take fully motivated, feeling confident that the guy's going to be in the field the entire 4 quarters. Bad matchup. I think I'll take that over. And let's talk about that, Kirkwood, because I think Tampa is just like, I'm not playing anybody. I don't trust Tampa. I do not trust what's going on in Tampa. There's no reason for them to play anybody. The Giants, earlier in the week, they're talking about, well, we'll see. Like, come on, nonsense. They're locked into their spot. There's no reason for them to play anybody. I would be surprised if Barkley's not playing, or, obviously it's not even T-Mobile. They're not even running out a Ty God. I think they're running out the 3rd string quarterback there for the Giants. And that's where I'm kind of getting at with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is motivated to win, but they have Hurts coming back from injury. And there's already a beat writer that floated out the thing yesterday, basically saying, like, once they get ahead, they're going to bring in Minshew. I'm a little bit scared on Hurts. On paper, if this was week 12, yeah, lock and load. Let's have a good time. And we have all the salary in the world for it because there's really nobody we have to pay up for. I am a little hesitant on Hurts. I'm pushing back. Maybe that's me being paranoid. What do you do with that situation? Because I'm a little bit concerned.
If you listen to the pod, you'd know that I was heavy on Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts this week.
Okay.
I feel like you, but now that you're on this same take, I'm thinking about flipping back. So as of this moment, it's up in the air. But it's like, okay, so how could this game play? It's a complete bunch of backups, right? So obviously fantasy points can be scored at ease, right? So what are they going to do? He's got a hurt shoulder. They do need to win the game. They're going to lock up the game. And is it going to be any different than a normal one of these first halves where Jalen Hurts just absolutely nukes and then they take the foot off the gas in the second half, but he still scores enough? Or can they just feed the running backs all game and just, lock it up that way? So I don't really know. I'm with you. I'm kind of scared of the ceiling here, but then I feel like if I don't play him, like he's gonna like, smash off like the first and second quarter. I'm gonna be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. This is a bunch of head choppers out there on defense. So like,
I thought he was playing quarterback. Now he's playing defense.
Yeah, he's.
It's amazing how he just can play multiple positions.
He's a two-way player.
I think we're underestimating the talent of head chopper.
He's like he's like the Ohtani of NFL. He's like prime time. Prime played a little wide receiver.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He hit a home run and got a touchdown the same day too. But that's a whole other conversation.
So I'm team Josh Allen. I'm not scared of the Pats defense, especially with their corners banged up. Yes, they're all going to be playing to win. Josh Allen's had some big games against New England. The emotion is going to be running high here, right? Like there's 2 emotional spots, right? Like, so there's one, obviously, if we know the reasons for this game for Buffalo, why it will be so emotional. I think they just go nuke, but then there's also the like angry Burrow and the Bengals who got kind of screwed over by this whole mess and like are kind of upset. And I feel like they're going to stick it to Baltimore, who's already started laying down some of their players. Dobbins is not playing. We don't know who's going to start at quarterback yet, I believe. Does it matter? They all stink, to be honest.
It may be Huntley, and it may be, what's the other guy's name? Like Anthony? I can't remember the other person's name, the third stringer. But it's not Lamar, which is the most important thing, I suppose.
Correct. They're all going to stink regardless. But so those are kind of the emotional narratives I am. Then I do think that like the Russ is interesting. If we get down there, I know that's a popular sentiment going around. that
I
the
don't hate it
Chargers.
either.
Yeah, I mean it's because he's cheap. He played decent last week. You would think that the Chargers rest everyone since he takes care of business. Who's a 9-point favorite? I think since he's going to take care of business, and then you got Russ, and so it's a great time to like build his confidence after so they can blame it more on the coach. It's not Russ, and there's cheap receiving options with. Judy's kind of cheap, but
Sutton's really cheap.
Yeah, Sutton's very cheap. So those are some of the ways, but like the reality is I like the Deshaun Watson call. We talked about that on the show. I think he's going to be, playing hard this game. Pitt's secondary has been, exploitable all season long. Amari Cooper has the narrative, the incentives. So I do like that, but like the reality is some of these guys that I have no interest in playing for are going to nuke somewhere, and I don't know if you can find them for me. I'll play them, but I don't know who to play at this point other than those guys.
Let's just finish our thoughts on quarterback, by the way, because but I do want to mention the Chargers one is kind of a sneaky one because look, Vegas is giving Denver's a 3-point favorite versus the Chargers. The Chargers can clinch the 5 spot, and you want to be in the 5 spot because you play against the Jags now as opposed to playing against one of the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Bengals. All they need is Baltimore to lose. Baltimore is a 9-point dog right now. They don't even know who their quarterback is today. They're probably going to lose. I think Denver defense is pretty interesting. It's possible, like we'll see, stay tuned, but like maybe like a Josh Kelly could be interesting as far as running back, like a cheap running back, a pivot away from Williams, who also plays late. We'll talk about that. That's one of those you got to stay tuned. The Niners, their motivation is somewhat tied to the Philadelphia game, right? If Philadelphia game blows out, same deal with Dallas. I don't know how much they're going to be watching the scoreboard and things like that, but they're kind of hoping for the Giants, who are a 17-point dog now. The number just keeps going up. I think it's 16.5 last I checked. It's an outrageous number. The Giants team total is lower than their how much their dogs buy. Their team total is 13. You have the money here, Bobby, right, to get. Because there's not a lot of big spends. There's some, we'll talk about it, and some with some real fragility. Even a guy like CMC, I think, has got some fragility to him. We'll talk about Justin Jefferson as a big spend, and Minnesota's kind of in the middle. And what they're talking about getting him the record for receiving, and it's like, what, you need 190 yards? He's also 23. Like, he'll get it next year or the next year. He'll get it eventually. He doesn't have to get it this year. Yeah, quarterback here, Bobby. Are you spending up because you do have the money for Hurts? You do have the money for Allen. You have the money for Burrow. I think, and we have a fully motivated Geno Smith. A little bit of rain projected there, but probably not a big deal. I think it's spent all the way up, or spent. I don't mind. I don't mind Mr. Unlimited Russ as a way to get cheap and get some double receivers elsewhere. But yeah, give me your quarterback pool here, Bobby.
Yeah, I think there's 5 QBs I'm considering. Allen's going to be the number 1 guy, just like the spot. All the reasons I kind of gave at the top of the show. Set corners for the Pats. I think they're out 2 of their main corners, so don't mind Allen. Joe Burrow. I think Mixon's going to gain a little traction. I just like the spot for Burrow, like the price for Burrow. You're saving pretty much $1,100 on Allen. T. Higgins he's in like that. The construction, we have the value to pay up, but T. Higgins at 7,600, I think it's like, you can go to Chase also as well, but I think I'd prefer T. I think he's 7,600, like that stack with Josh. Tyler Boyd's pretty cheap as well. I think you can go to Boyd. Geno Smith would be my next one. He's at 6K. Kenneth Walker, I think you can play him with Kenneth Walker in one of the receivers, albeit Lockett or Metcalf. We might get lower ownership on Lockett because do we have that news currently?
He's going to play.
He's going to play, yeah.
Yeah, I think Lockett's expected to play, but
yeah.
I mean,
do we have any interesting guys like the Owl?
The Owl?
Okay,
Sam the Owl Hell.
I don't have any interest in.
I mean, like, probably not. I mean, I would put him ahead of some of these guys.
What about Flacco?
No,
Flacco.
Flacco to Elijah Moore.
Are we sure Flacco play the entire game?
No, that's the thing. I don't think he's going to play the entire game. I like the Russ call at 5-4. You're getting Judy and Sutton with Russ. I think they want to. It's like every league, every situation that's been a blow up, like what with the Raiders, they pretty much blamed it on Derek Carr. Now they'll blame it on Hackett in Denver. Let Russ go out there and check it a little bit. So I don't know. You could play Russ at 5-4, but those are the main quarterbacks I'm gonna stay to.
Do we feel like Purdy's good to go, or like how much does he actually have to do? They probably want to protect him, right? Which is a weird sentence to say. You got to protect, you got to put him in bubble wrap, Brock Purdy. But that's sort of where they're at. Their third quarterback. Dalton. Like I don't know what. I guess Dalton's going to play the entire game. Supposedly Hill is questionable, but I never understood the whole Jameis situation all season long. But like, why wouldn't maybe they give him a little something? I haven't seen anything out there on that, but Kirk Cousins feels like a guy who's not going to play the entire game. So like our pool, I mean, Tom Brady, I don't think plays the entire game. Stop me if you're interested in any of these guys, Kirkwood. I think it's just there's only so many guys to pick from as far as quarterback because, I want my guys to play 4 quarters, at least, have a good shot at it.
Yeah, and some of these guys may, and we just weren't expecting it, and some of them, won't. It's a minefield today, like. So I don't know. I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like I'm just going to stick around and watch the next show behind us too, and get some of these deeper takes from some of these guys because I don't feel confident with anyone but the main guys that I like Josh Allen, Burrow, and I don't even feel confident with Hurts at all. So it's really Josh Allen or Burrow for me.
I'm so I don't know what to do with Hurts. He's the one that makes me the most nervous and. He can run in 2 touchdowns and have 200 passing yards in the first half, and like, who cares what he does in the second half? And is anybody even going to top? I suppose it's possible one of these guys can, Watson could get 4 touchdowns and 300 yards or something like that. I guess that's in the realm of possibilities. Following us, for what it's worth, it's Ebeimfohr, it's SquirrelPatrol, and then of course the Crunch Time crew comes on at 12:30. You guys got Andre, TheLuuch, and Rob as well. I have not said hello to chat. What's up, chat? I did drop a link in chat. If you guys are not aware. The fabulous tool you're seeing on screen right now, the RotoGrinders Lineup HQ tool that shows, a lot of times people in chat are like, "Hey, producer, can you zoom in on ownership, or can you go to FanDuel? Can you go to DraftKings?" You guys can do this at your own leisure right now. If you don't have RG Premium, just go ahead and click that link I dropped in chat, or go to RotoGrinders.com, hit the Lineup HQ tool. You get to play around with the optimizer, the projections, everything you want there at your own leisure. Go ahead and check that out. Lineup HQ. It is free this weekend if you're not aware. Help you build out some lineups. Anything else that's worth saying as far as quarterback? I think we're, done with that. By the way, FanDuel, if you're not aware, they did something a little different this week. Again, they included the Sunday night game, Detroit, Green Bay. Green Bay fully motivated. Green Bay, if they win, they're in. And this is actually the biggest total on the board, I believe, if you include, well, not the DK board, but the FanDuel board. Green Bay fully motivated. Detroit fully motivated, unless, of course, Seattle. They need Seattle to lose, right? If Seattle loses, then they're live. If Seattle wins, Detroit's knocked out. But I still think Detroit's going to give their best effort because that's just their, that's how that team is built. It's
their MO right now.
Their modus operandi. Yes. That's the way I'm functioning. I assume that they basically, and they want to get Jamal Williams some touchdowns. Apparently, if they happen to land on the 1 yard line. They'd like to get him the touchdown. Is he close to the touchdown record, or he's going to lead the league in touchdowns? That's where we're at right now, I believe. But, that Dan Campbell, there's no way he's laying down, I don't think. And Goff wants to, put out a sales pitch that he deserves to steer the wheel next year as well, I suppose, as opposed to them looking to upgrade. Do you have any general thoughts on that game, Kirk? What are you playing on FanDuel or no?
No, I'm playing on Yahoo and DraftKings today. I have a locked FanDuel account. Since for over a month.
Are you in fact a human? Can you prove it on air?
It's freaking crazy. I can't get anything to.
Your voice just went like some weird feedback as you started defending yourself being human. I don't know if you heard that, Bobby, but his voice.
It's because they're a sponsor and they're taking me out. So
they're taking me out too. They never respond to my limit requests. We have to play limits en masse, and you need to show proof of whatever, and I can't show it because no one responds back to me.
Well, I'm allowed to play on FanDuel. I'm playing a little bit of FanDuel today, and I think that game is kind of hiding because, and I'm sure a lot of the content out there, even on RG, I don't want. It's not ignoring that game, but like a lot of people tend to, for whatever reason, the way content is produced is like focused based upon DK pricing. Have you noticed that, Bobby? And then they would kind of go out of your way to say, "Oh yeah, on FanDuel you can do this," but like it feels like DK drives the conversation. Is that fair?
I think that's how it's always been, Dean, right? Like I feel like that's the way it's been for a decade now.
Yeah. So Justin Jefferson, you have the money for it. There's Diggs out there fully motivated. There's Chase out there fully motivated. Like the Dolphins are motivated too. Like nobody's playing Tyreek Hill, which is really interesting. Of course, Skylar Thompson is a person. He'll be throwing balls today for the Dolphins. They're down to their third quarterback. And tough defense as well as far as the Jets. The Jefferson situation here, Bobby, and this is like where maybe you do have an advantage if whatever, however you want to say. You're obviously risking more money too if you're MMing. But I don't think I'm playing Jefferson. I just kind of made that decision up and saying, I don't trust he's going to play the entire game. Maybe if he like breaks an 80-yard touchdown in the first quarter, like they'll be like, oh well, hey, let's throw another one up and give him a shot and like just have some fun, and the game doesn't matter. But I don't think I'm playing Jefferson. Is that a mistake? Where are you at as far as?
So I have Jefferson in my pool, but I'm not getting to him currently for whatever reason. Like the Opto just doesn't like him.
Yeah.
And I think that I have to take that into consideration. For me, him and McCaffrey, I think there are two plays that are going to be tough to get to, even with the value that we have. I think I just rather prefer the Diggses of the world, the Chases of the world, or T. Higgins. I like a lot of these mid-range receivers. I like Chris Olave. He's going he has like some incentive for like the rookie Saints record or something. I think that's what it is, like 150 yards. A lot of people are going to be playing Rashid, but I think they're going to try to get a lot. They really like Olave, so I think that they're going to try to work him the ball a little bit. Garrett Wilson,
record, I believe he's chasing down. It's 150-ish.
Yeah, 150. Garrett Wilson, he's another one. Like him, I think he's too cheap currently. I think a lot of people are gonna get to him, but I think it's fine price of 5,800. Drake London, same thing, 4,900. Drake the Snake London, Kirkie's boy, just seeing ton of targets. And now
let's see those snakes, chat. Get them out there.
Get the snakes out there, chat. Yeah. I think he makes a ton of sense. Tampa's just their defense, no Vita Vea. They're usually a pass funnel. I know Atlanta doesn't throw the ball a lot, but who knows? He has good rapport with the QB there, so I don't mind getting to London. Amari Cooper, the incentive, the 80 yards. I think they're gonna get it to him. That's why, I like some of these Cleveland guys. I prefer him at his tag, $6K. Really like that price. I know I'm jumping all around here. I'm just looking at kind of what's coming out for me. Dortch is another guy that he's down at 3.8. Like I think that price tag's fine, especially for the workload increase he'll see. The Dorcher chamber, though, like you know what you're getting into there.
It's a different one than Lou Dort, but yes, the similar. It works as well.
Yeah.
Connor is done, of course, on Arizona. There's no Hopkins as well. Blau is quarterbacking the team. I mean, they have a team total less than 13, and that's I saw something in chat. And chat, throw out your questions by all means. We want to work you in as much as possible, whatever's on your mind. There's no season-long questions. I assume there's no season-long questions. Congratulations to those that won your season-long league. I'm sure you give Kirkwood a lot of credit. The Niners of 27 team total, like you mentioned, like CMC is a big span. It's like, well, Mitchell's back, Debo's back. How much do they really have to push these guys on San Fran? And you never really know. It's possible Arizona, is somehow leading this game at the half, and San Francisco's got to push pretty hard in the second half, and they all stick around. But it feels like it's just so strange. Like the Eagles have almost a 30-team total. I don't trust anybody. They have 4 running backs, so I guess theoretically Sanders can be a guy, but they can give it to Scott. They can give it to Gainwell. And that's the same thing with San Fran. Like I don't really trust any of it. But of course CMC can break a slate. I'm just I'm torn. It's another one I'm torn on here. Kirkwood, as far as the Niners in general, I don't know what to do with this team.
I don't know, but I've seen in chat we've got Tone DiBiase in chat, and I'm just wondering if he's related to
Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe Ted DiBiase. Well, I think he's either in prison or possibly in prison, stealing money from people down there in Alabama. I want to say. No,
Really?
Mississippi. One of those southern states. It's not worth getting into. But Google it.
He said 100% related.
Yeah. And Dean's talking about his
and Brett Favre. The whole thing. It's not worth getting.
Instead of all the achievements you could have talked about, and
Yes,
you could have even gone to Virgil, but
he's not.
Still.
There's allegations out there on DiBiase. Now you're going to make me Google and defend myself here. All right. Do you have any thoughts there as far as San Fran?
I'm just kind of staying away from it.
Yeah.
They just have too many ways to go.
What about Mitchell and large field stuff?
Yeah, sure. But there's also they could also be TDP and
there's Mason. There's so many guys. That's kind of where I'm concerned with. But there was positive coach speak on Mitchell for what it's worth. If you care about such things,
we do care about such things, Steve.
Jedi Girl chat's talking about having Madison. Like Madison's interesting. He's not Stone Min, like backup Stone Min. But if you're going to buy that Minnesota, and again, they're playing the Bears. The Bears are horrific. The Bears are fully motivated to lose this game. I think they want Houston to win. If Houston wins and the Bears lose, I think the Bears get the number one pick overall. And, of course, they're ensuring that not only just being the Bears and happening organically, but, Nathan Peterman, the Peter Cotter, is drawing the start there for Chicago. Yeah, see, there's Ribs that did some Googling for me. I wasn't making that stuff up about DiBiase and Favre. It's real. It's on the Google machine, so it definitely happened, allegedly.
I have a question for Mr. Kirkwood.
Yo.
What do you think about the Carolina Panthers running backs? You brought them up?
Yeah, I mean, if we get news that Foreman, did we have anything break with Foreman yet? Do we know it yet?
I don't think we have that.
I think Chuba's good to go, man.
Well, the other part of that is that Blackshear is going to get some run, right?
Yeah, maybe, but I think Chuba's the guy.
Is Kamara going to finally get there week 17? Is that going to finally happen? And also there's a chance Hill doesn't play. I don't know what to do with this one, but theoretically it's a good price. I think he's, there's stuff going on with him in the offseason. We'll see. I'm not sure if it feels like he's a guy not in their long-term plans as far as the Saints.
I don't know how he could not be in your long-term plans. I don't see what they're doing.
I don't know. Do you get the impression that they like him?
They liked him for all the years prior when they were super successful and made the playoffs. I don't know why you would go away from a key cog in your success just because of a regime change, right?
I don't understand a lot of things the Saints do. So, again, it's confusing. But is he in your pool? Is Kamara in your pool?
He's not in my pool. It would be if Taysom was to be ruled out, then I think you could have some interest in Kamara. But I still worry about how much they're going to really give him the rock today.
Most popular running backs today. The Williams situation for Washington, right? Basically last man standing. It's not necessarily a great matchup here against Dallas, but volume. Unless you think Jared Patterson's going to get a chunk, Jonathan Williams should be the number one guy here for Washington. Again, there's a team of total less than 17, and Sam Howell is quarterback in the offense. So possibly some efficiency issues here. Moss is probably the number one there for Indianapolis against Houston. Neon Diaz, as Kirkwood likes to put it. As far as most popular stuff, Algier was mentioned. For sure, Algier is going to be reasonably popular.
He's got a milestone.
What's his milestone?
He needs 124 rushing yards to break the Falcons rookie record.
Okay. Is Cordell Patterson going to keep siphoning some of his carries, or are they going to give him a little bit more today?
I mean, it sounds like a good record. It sounds like it's pretty attainable. I would say
reasonable.
They go for it. Yeah, very reasonable. I'd say they go for it and build, but you never know.
I think Walker is going to be one of the most popular running backs. We have Seattle, fully motivated team, at home favorite against a Rams team. Obviously, hit the sim button. We go. They're playing out the string of the Rams. The Rams, I guess, are not going to fully lay down because their number one pick's already gone, right? Giving it away to somebody else. There's already turmoil about McVay possibly leaving. That seems like that's smoke and fire, right? Stories out there today talking about his future in doubt. Walker, number one ownership guy right now, currently NTK, 25%, Algier 24%, Williams at 19%. There's Miles Sanders. I don't know what to do with that one. The Cam Akers one, I guess he's last man standing, and they're just going to give the ball to Akers. That's what they've been doing the last few weeks. I like Harris a good bit at 11% against Cleveland. We know about running backs against Cleveland. I know the backup has been getting a chunk, but Harris should get enough where he's fine.
Harris is a lock.
Oh, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Really, a lock.
Lock. Harris looked really good he's come along these last couple of weeks. He's one of these guys like David Montgomery that everybody just that all this NFL Twitter and everybody they all bash on these guys, right? But the reality is he's getting a huge workload. He looked really good last week. He got the game-winning touchdown. This is a must-win game for him. It's the nut matchup. He hurdled. Did you see his hurdle in the last game? He hurdled one of the.
How many points you get? How many DFS points you get for a hurdle?
Not many, but it does build confidence, which in turn leads to fantasy points. So
it's the long con with the hurdle.
These things are important, but he to me he's the safest guy on this slate. I mean, Walker's probably the ultimate safest, but Najee, at least from a workload standpoint, I mean, he got against Baltimore, he got 22 rushing attempts, 3 targets, so that's 25 touches. We're talking 25 touches for 6,100 in the nut matchup in a game they have to win when there's so much uncertainty out there.
Are you okay playing him? And I was building a lot of pre-show and I wasn't sure what to do with. I didn't want to blow it up, but Freiermuth and Harris in the same lineup. You okay with that?
Freiermuth and
2 guys on Pittsburgh.
Yes, I have them both in my lineup as a matter of fact.
Okay, yeah, Freiermuth's going to be probably the chalky tight end.
But I was thinking, I'm down to a 2v2. You guys want to help me with this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the last time I did this for you, it didn't.
Bobby buried me. Okay, he buried.
I didn't bury you.
Didn't you steal his lineup, Bobby? And
he almost did. Which is even the crazier part. Let's not even get into that. Let's
he was going to plug it in and make hundreds of thousands.
We're past this. We're past this.
He should have plugged it in. Kirky was mad at me for 6 weeks. If you told me, I would have never did that without asking you if it was okay to do that.
But you said you almost did it.
But I didn't do it because I didn't text you and be like, why don't I just play the other team?
But if let's say, all right.
But I'm not. I would never do that.
We're past this. All right. I have a 2v2 today. So
yeah.
I'm playing Josh Allen. I'm playing my boy Diggs. I'm playing Amari Cooper. But it comes down tight end and wide receiver for the last spot. I need to cheat. I don't have much money here. So I can either use Tyquan Thornton as the bring back and go with Freiermuth at tight end, or because it's Allen to Diggs, or I can go Hunter Henry and go Dortch, or I can go down to the 2,900 tight end, which is Jalen or Alberto. So I can go probably Alberto would be the guy I would choose for 2,900, and then I can go Shaheed, I think. Let me see.
I think I like that one the most.
Yeah, that's the chalkier version, though. Right?
I like Alberto today. The time was a flat circle, man. It's come all the way back. And the Henry one is really good too because
let's get some group think from chat. Let's get everybody giving their opinion, and let's ride with it.
Smith is out, right?
John not expected.
Yeah, John who's out.
Ran around every drop back last week.
So 2 of them are run backs, or I would just have to go Allen to Diggs with no run back, which is fine on a slate like this. I don't think run backs are critical.
I agree.
So I'm not really worried about it, but and I do like Tyquan Thornton. I mean, this is a must-win game. Seems to be their most electric weapon at the moment, but
they have so many guys that are all meh, like Myers and Parker and Bourne and Aguilar. Why is it going to be Thornton this week?
It was Thornton last week.
Well, yeah, now he's back in the line. Unless he stays up there and he tries to get seconds. I don't know, man. It's
no, yeah, your Parker's back this week too, right?
I think so.
I don't know. I like Henry a little bit with Dortch. I don't want to be that guy though. Alberto and who was the other one? Rashid. I think that works too. I would just do that.
I don't. Yeah, the Dortch. Why is? I mean, I know Dortch is cheap, but besides that, like, what do we really expect? We're hoping for like 5 for 30, and like maybe he falls in the end zone. Like, what are we really rooting for Dortch?
I don't know. Kirkwood, why don't you send me your second team and I'll plug it in?
Yes, whatever. I'm going to steal. I'll take the third one. He's got 3 combinations. Whichever combination you don't use and Bobby doesn't use, I'll play.
Oh, this is. I mean, I put it out the chat. If anyone 1, 2, or 3, let's
see what chat thinks. Where is chat? We're a very interactive show. I don't think a lot of shows are this interactive with chat. We answer season-long questions.
And then I can do it. Then I can go by what you guys pick, and then I can say, "Let's ride," like Mr. Unlimited. You know.
What about Trey McBride? Shannon's throwing out Trey McBride at tight end. Who had
everyone likes 2.
What's that?
Yep, so everyone likes 2. We're going to eliminate 2. Is how we're going to do this.
That's the one I liked. I'm going to play. Give me the rest of the lineup, Kirkwood. I'm going to play it.
The lineup is nice. It does look nice.
I mean, I probably can build it. I feel like I heard most of the pieces.
I'm an open book. I give it out.
No, I'm not good. Come on. Do we have a thought as far as McBride or just tight ends in general? Obviously there's no Kelsey on the slate. You could spend up on Kittle if you want to, but I think there's a couple of reasons why I don't love him. Samuel coming back, Mitchell coming back, big time favorite. Probably not a lot of incentive late in that game. We'll see. How much punchback is Arizona going to have? Probably not a lot. Yeah. Tight ends, Bobby, who's in your pool?
Yeah, so tight ends is tough this week. I like Njoku a good bit. I think he's an interesting pivot off of Freiermuth. Freiermuth's chalky. Like, I'm still playing Freiermuth, don't get me wrong. But I think he's like 100 more in Njoku. He has incentives. So like him, he's coming in pretty low owned. Outside of that, Jawan Johnson I think is interesting. Everyone's going to play Shaheed. I think you can go to him.
I think he's a bit questionable for what it's worth. Just keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, he's Q tagged. Tyler Higbee's another one versus Seattle. That offense has been very condensed, and a lot of it goes through Higbee. Jelani Woods it's just tough with their quarterback situation, but he's a cheapie I like.
Yeah, Jelani or Alberto?
Alberto for me. I just don't trust Ellinger. We found a quarterback that Russ is better than.
I think it's Alberto for me too. Yeah. Tyler Conklin, just with Flacco, it's a QB upgrade. I always like to play Conklin a little bit. Dawson Knox, he's been playing well. My tight end pool, I don't really have any conviction around who I want to play. Logan Thomas, 3K. I'm playing a bunch of these guys and just rotating them through.
Yeah, I feel like you've touted Logan Thomas like all year. Am I making
that was me. I was a big Logan.
I was a big Logan Thomas guy too previously, and he's just been absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, Jelani is electric. Herb Gomes, like he's like a chig. Like he's just a big, electric, athletic guy.
He can't throw a ball to himself is the problem.
That's correct.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is another.
Although who we saw the craziest yesterday's game was like a work of art, the Jags game with did you see what was the play where he just hucked was it with Burks who tried to like lateral it when he was getting tackled?
Yes,
and just
that was pretty wild.
It.
And
then they had the trick play that I needed to who's the cheap electric I'm just drawing a blank. Anyway, the guy who does the returns for the Jags.
It's not Hasty, right? Hasty's the backup running back.
No, he's a running back. So it's
he was 3K yesterday in the pool.
Agnew.
That's
Jamal
who it is.
Agnew. Yeah. Lawrence botched an easy touchdown for him by like throwing it up over his head, kind of on like a handoff. It was crazy. Like that game was just like, who can make more mistakes?
Raheem Mostert's thrown out in chat that people are talking about. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think he's got a clear stranglehold, and I don't love the matchup there versus the Jets necessarily. Again, Miami is a motivated team. And I saw Royce Freeman thrown out. Either you guys interested in either? I don't look, man. If those guys have a big day, I'm in trouble because I don't think I'm playing either. Does anybody have And also Zach Moss in the conversation because he was thrown out in chat too. And
I like Moss a good bit at 5,200. I think he's interesting in tournaments.
Yeah, at home in a dome there. It's the effort because it's against Houston. I don't mind Moss either. I wish he can catch the ball a little bit more. And of course, his quarterback's not really going to throw it much anyway. But I think he can run for 100 and get in the box for sure. We do have, like you said, Kirkwood, SquirrelPatrol. SquirrelPatrol is going to help you guys figure this slate out. He'll be on in about 10 minutes or so with Ebeimfohr as well. Before we get to them, we want to knock out some more questions in chat. We want to talk about, hey, if you don't want to mess with trying to figure out 9 players that are going to be playing the entire slate, all 4 quarters, go ahead and check out Stat Hero. If you're not aware of Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete against the house. You're not going to compete against Kirkwood or Bobby or anybody else hanging out in chat. You can participate in a head-to-head style contest for Stat Hero. They provide a lineup that has you get that lineup with your own, as well as pick'em style contest. Check out the Big Dime League. That's a season-long leaderboard NFL contest, up to $50,000 in prizes. I assume those prizes will be delegated out today. And if you haven't checked it out at this point, probably don't like your chances to win in the season-long contest over there in Stat Hero. Promo code Grinders, 50% deposit bonus, up to $250. Get into the action today at Stat Hero. Gus the Bus, any Gus Edwards? According to Bruce wants to know, Kirkwood, do you like Gus Edwards tonight?
Probably not. I don't know how this is going to shake out. I don't know. It seems like they're waving the white flag, but are they really? I don't know. I guess he's fine. Dobbins is out, but I feel more comfortable with some of these other situations. One I'm on right now quickly is like, should I just be playing Hayden Hurst?
He's fine. Yeah.
Well, he's got the cat. He's got cash incentives. So he's got 3 of them. He needs 2 receptions for 125K.
Okay.
So
he'll get 2 catches. That's what he's projected for, I'm sure. At least
he needs 100 receiving yards for another 125K.
That's not going to happen.
He needs 3 touchdowns for an additional 125K. Let's think big here. 3,100.
You're trying to win too. Like, if you're trying to win, you're probably not getting 3 touchdowns.
If Hayden Hurst had the mentality of Kirky, he'd be pushing guys over to take passes away, running them into the end zone. He'd definitely be on my team. I just don't know if he's going to be chasing all this.
Hayden Hurst, man. I think 100 yards is possible and 2 receptions is certainly possible. They were peppering him in the beginning of that game.
I like Hurst. I'm not counting on getting 100 yards with 3 touchdowns, but I think he
had 3 targets right off the bat.
We had somebody asking about Gus Edwards. Now somebody asking about Kenyon Drake. Again, they have a 15-point total here in Baltimore. So, none of these guys to me feel great. Can you throw darts? Sure. They're super cheap. Bobby, thoughts as far as this Baltimore? I know we mentioned Gus. You like Drake? You like Hill? You like any of these guys?
There's just too many guys. I guess it could be Gus would be my favorite, but I'm probably not playing any of these guys.
Andre in chat, he says he likes Hurst. So, yeah, I think he's going to be pretty popular, actually, on DK. I think. Let me just check our ownership stuff. I think he's one of our most popular tight ends. 4th most popular, according to ownership. Number 1 is Goddard, which I don't totally believe, personally. Am I wrong? Again, this might be my own personal paranoia about Philadelphia, and I'm afraid. Fine. I just don't know if he's playing the 4th quarter. I don't know if he has to. We talked about Hurts, but it kind of, it's a trickle down here, Bobby. But Philadelphia in general, like Brown, Smith, Goddard, what are we doing with these pieces? Sanders?
So I'm off Hurts, not Hurst. I'm off Hurts. I just think that he's the chalk. They have shown all year that if they get ahead, they just sit on it. And then it brings me also off Sanders, who in another week would be a good leverage play, but they have other running backs that they can just go to once they get a lead here. So I'm really just not interested in any of these Philly pieces, which could be bad for me at the end of the day. I'll probably have some Goddard, but that's about it.
We got Shaq in chat asking about Taysom Hill. He's questionable. And he's a quarterback on DK, right? Was he really cheap on Yahoo, Kirkwood?
I think he's 16, I think.
Okay. And FanDuel, he's probably like in the 6 at tight end. I didn't look, to be honest, because I just, I didn't think I needed him this week. But anybody have a thought as far as Taysom? I'm assuming he plays. I don't have anything positive to say necessarily.
I have no interest.
I liked him in that bad weather game, and he did score a touchdown in that game on the ground. From
Is Big T on Taysom? If Big T was on him, I might have it.
I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny, but typically is he still on Wentz? That's what I want to know. Is that still his guy?
I don't think Washington's on Wentz anymore, right?
No, Big T. It's Big T still.
I know.
He did the quarterback rankings and he had Wentz like at 4. Remember this? I know.
I do remember this actually. Yeah.
We all have our bad tweets, but that was that's in the Hall of Fame somewhere.
Isaiah McKenzie's got some.
I like Isaiah McKenzie a lot. That's the guy we did. 3,500 for McKenzie makes Allen stacks work.
46 receiving yards. He gets 100 Gs.
46.
Yeah,
we like some McKenzie.
I mean, really, like what does Isaiah McKenzie?
He killed the Patriots. He kills the Patriots. Absolutely kills the Patriots.
Hey, Steven in chat says, "Can we see running back?" Steven, you can see it all. As far as the lineup HQ. It's free. It's free right now. We'll just we don't want to get in the premium. I'm talking about lineup HQ, and I don't want to give any false teases out there. But lineup HQ is free. Check out lineup HQ right now. I'll go ahead and drop the link in chat. You can look at anything you want. We're giving it away for the people. You can check out the ownership, check out all the positions. The McKenzie thing is like, does he have the kind of pull to get in? Allen's ear. He's like their 3rd or 4th receiver.
I think he does.
Easily.
If I'm Allen, right, and in this week it's so emotional, I want to find out any of my guys, and I want to do everything I can for them. That's just me. That's the kind of guy I am, though.
I get the thought process. I love McKenzie at 3,500.
Is he a cheap receiver?
Yeah, he's good. Wait, they run. This defense is slow on the edges. They use McKenzie versus the Patriots.
How do you feel about Steph? Steph versus Chase.
Steph is the play.
Steph's better than Chase?
I don't know if he's better than Chase, but he's a better play than Chase today.
Is it because, they're both motivated, right? You think the matchup's better against New England?
The secondary is
supposed to be bad, right?
Yeah, the secondary for New England, a couple guys are right, Kirky? Kirk's frozen.
We lost Kirkwood. According to the chat, Diggs needs 2 touchdowns for some kind of bonus. I don't know that. Maybe. I'm not sure. But Diggs and Chase. Are you playing any Tyreek or any Waddle? Because I feel like
I don't see how you can play those guys today.
Why not? They're
it's around the industry. It's ridiculously bad. I would prefer Tyreek, I guess, if I had to choose between the two. Kirk's back. Who are the corners out for New England, Kirky?
It's not their best. It's their 2nd and 3rd best. Hold on.
I just feel like the Dolphins coach is going to scheme in a way to get Hill the ball, even if it's at the line. Just hopefully he does something. And who's more electric than Hill when the ball's in his hands? He's totally neglected. The matchup stinks, the quarterback stinks, but I feel like I should get more than whatever small number he has as far as his ownership, which is, 5% or something. It's not a big number. You're back with us, Kirkwood?
Kind of.
Finish strong. This is 18 weeks. It was fun, guys. I had a fun time. Hopefully the people out there enjoyed it. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. So there's obviously going to be content going forward. There's basketball content. That's why you subscribe to the channel for all the sports baseball right around the corner. 80 days. But plenty of NFL coverage all the way up to the Super Bowl, and also following us. There's no reason to leave this channel because you got SquirrelPatrol and Erik. They're going to be stepping in momentarily, as well as Andre and TheLuuch and Rob. They're in the bullpen. We got to finish strong here, Kirkwood. Give the people what they want. They want a bold take. They want a favorite, a favorite stack, something good. This is what they'll remember you by. You're only as good as your last call. This is it.
I'm going to give my lineup. How about that?
I don't know if we should. I mean, do what you want to do, but yeah.
I'm doing Allen to Diggs.
Sure.
I've got Amari. On my running backs, I got the chalk, Algier, Najee, and Walker. And I've got this is just chalk, but this is going to win. And then I guess I'll go the Alberto and Shaheed.
Yeah,
and there you go.
You want to keep your defense a secret, I suppose.
Yeah,
We didn't touch on defense. If you want to use your 30 seconds or a minute, Bobby, on defense, by all means. I didn't mean to cut your segment.
I'm off. I just can't figure out defense today. I'm playing, I think, 5 defenses. I have right now. I can tell you, Broncos, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, Texans, and Ravens. Those are the D's I'm playing. Maybe the Colts in there.
The Broncos, again, they're 3-point favorites. I think there's a good chance the Chargers are locked into their spot and they're going to rest a bunch of dudes. I saw somebody in chat just mentioning DeAndre Carter's got incentives. There's a chance DeAndre Carter gets loose. Like why would you not? Like, Allen and Mike Williams both have had injuries throughout the year.
I saw that also. I added Carter to my player pool and I saw that. Who put that out there? It was a good call.
Gator Nation in chat.
Gator Nation. One of our guys, Gator Nation. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, just be alert. And there's a lot of late games too. So like you can, be prepared to late swap, pay attention. Actives and actives coming out in 5 minutes, 1 o'clock game. Something goofy is going to be coming out for sure. Eric is going to help you out with that as well as Squirrel. All right, we are going to step aside, win some money today. Again, no reason to leave this stream because Eric and Squirrel Patrol are right around the corner. Hit that like button as they're jumping in. Kirkwood, Bobby, it was a pleasure. Go win something, take something down, finish strong. Here comes Squirrel and Eric. Thanks for watching.
What is going on, Grinders? It's Chief. It's Thrive Fantasy. It's NFL. It's Week 18. Man, the season went by pretty quickly here, but I've got 2 props for you on a very trivial Week 18 slate. Is it more? Is it less? Let's find out, folks. So when it comes down to the Seattle Seahawks, they've got to win this game. And as a result, I love Kenneth Walker here, over 78.5 rushing yards. I think this brother gets close to 100 yards with ease on this one. Now, going to another game that this is going to directly impact the Seahawks, and that's the Green Bay Packers. So Aaron Rodgers at 252.5 passing yards, and while it might feel like this should be an over based on the Detroit offense, I think this is an under, folks. We don't see Aaron Rodgers go past 250 too often. I think this game is in Green Bay. I think they try to run the ball, control the clock. As a result, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers under 252.5. All right, folks, it's Chief. We've been talking Thrive Fantasy. I'll see you back here next week for the playoffs.
What is going on, everybody? We're here, week 18. We made it, the finale, the conclusion, whatever you want to call it. The most chaotic week of the year. Maybe week 1. Week 1 and week 18. The most chaotic weeks of the year. This year feels different, too. Week 18. As always, I'm your host, Erik Beimfohr. It has been a wonderful ride this entire season. I'm joined by a frequent guest. No one I would probably rather talk to about a slate like this than John Breslin, aka Squirrel Patrol. If you have not watched the show before, thank you for joining in the final final week of the regular season. And what we'll try to do, particularly this week, is you see it's titled GPP Final Takes, and we're going to try to bounce around kind of all the games, the entire slate, to the most important kind of decision points 4 tournaments, right? So there will be certain games. We're not going to go through every single game. We're definitely going to go through some games. We're not going to go through every single, position at the same level of detail, but we're going to kind of bounce around. And John, week 18, the first thing that jumps out to me is, who the heck is even playing, in these games, and how much our team's playing. We talk a lot about motivation and all of that. What's kind of your first initial takeaway as, we're, a little over an hour away from locking in our lineups?
Yeah, so week 18 is always wild. I got my FanDuel coffee ready to go, sponsor for the show. But yeah, it's always wild. You used the term earlier this season, like the second wave of chaos, right? It's kind of this circular nature of the NFL. We're almost back to the preseason, right? Like the real degens are playing like the preseason DFS.
Yep.
And now we're back, right? Some of the same names are gonna pop up. But it's, we have some like real NFL games. We have some games where, like teams are going to be playing their backups, and it's just important to know the situations. Got contract incentives to be aware of. But yeah, it's going to be a wild week. It feels like kind of like a senioritis thing, right? Like those last few days of senior year of high school or senior year of college, right? Where you're like things are just getting totally chaotic. But it's great to be here.
Exactly. Nowhere we'd rather be than talking about Sam Howell and Rashid Shaheed and Anthony Brown, which is actually. So first, let's take a super quick step back. The inactives are about to all start rolling in, so we are going to do our best to keep track of all that. They're clearly very important. We obviously won't know inactives for the afternoon games. There are quite a bit of afternoon games, although I do feel like in the afternoon we have a reasonable idea about the motivation levels for most of those teams. It's really kind of binary in the afternoon. The teams are absolute, like one team in every matchup is playing for something and one team is not. That's not totally true, like the Broncos game maybe, right? But you get the Eagles and the Cowboys, etc. So we'll try to keep on top of the inactives. If you have any questions this week, more than any probably, if you have questions, we will try to hit on every single question, because there is no way we can get to every single player that could possibly be fantasy relevant today. But we will sure as heck try. The first thing, this is kind of the latest news. I do think it's pretty impactful, but not necessarily for the players involved in terms of playing them DFS lineups. But Dean has posted here in the chat. We got word yesterday or Friday or something that Lamar Jackson was going to be out again in week 18. Now, he has not played in a month. Tough for the Ravens heading into the playoffs. But they also said last night, Adam Schefter reported last night that J.K. Dobbins is not going to play today. So that kind of, set off alarm bells for everybody thinking, all right, the Ravens are going to shut it down, not really worry about seeding for the playoffs, just get everybody into the wild card round healthy. Now Tyler Huntley is also not playing. He is inactive today. So it's going to be Anthony Brown, the third string quarterback for the Ravens. And why I think this is important is, one, it does outline the Ravens to me as, I really actually liked Mark Andrews. That was probably my favorite. I mean, it wasn't sneaky or anything, but the Burrow stacks with an Andrews bring back was probably one of my favorite roster constructions of the slate. Really kind of talks me off of Mark Andrews there. Even if he plays the full game, I'm not sure that Anthony Brown can get him the ball, but I definitely would be very concerned about, Mark Andrews resting now. And then it definitely worries me for the Bengals stacks. Jamar Chase is going to be very popular. I think Joe Burrows is sneakily going to be quite popular. And we do have to spend technically we don't have to spend our money, right? But we're looking for places to spend our money, and they were one of the better options. And now, they're going to score, and I'm not necessarily concerned about their output in a vacuum, but I am concerned about, I was hoping for a little bit of pushback, right, from the Ravens and not for them to lay over and die. And so let's start with the Bengals Ravens. And what are you thinking about that now with this latest news?
So I think the Bengals still want to win, but it's like a similar situation now to the Eagles and Giants, where one team is really just playing their total preseason package and the other team needs to win. It makes me like maybe like Joe Mixon a little bit more, Samaje Perine. Like they might just be running the ball a lot. So that might be like a correlation. Is like Bengals running backs and Bengals defense. I don't know anything about Anthony Brown. If you're doing 150 lineups, I like the idea of actually playing some of these backup quarterbacks, but otherwise, for like single entry and smaller field and cash games. Like there's no reason to really be thinking about the Ravens that much. There's going to be plenty of value to go around this week. So salary is not going to be as much of a thing as it usually is. But yeah, I still like the Bengals a little bit, and similar to the way I still like the Eagles.
Right.
But it's a little bit of a hit, but it's tough. I mean, you've got to find a roster of guys to play. And so, even if, it's every week we play guys who might be sitting the fourth quarter because their team's out to a huge lead. If their team is out to a huge lead, it means somebody had to score in the game.
Yep.
And the Eagles and the Bengals are going to want to win. So, it takes me off the Bengals a little bit, but I still think they're okay as long as they're active.
Yeah, right, exactly. On a slate where nearly every team has these same, like even the teams where we're like, okay, they're not playing for anything, so and so sitting out. You don't like. We're definitely going to get to this game because I like this one. This is one of your guys that I know you were on before me, and I watch him play every single week, and I'm like, how the heck is this guy just like a free agent or whatever? But like the Saints, I really like the Saints. Like pretty much anybody that's playing football for the Saints today, I like, and frankly, I like the Panther side of things too. But like we can tell ourselves like, oh yeah, they haven't said they're resting guys, right? They're just going to play the whole game, but no, we don't know. We don't know anything. Right about this, Chris Olave could play a half and they could be like, set it down, young fellow. We don't want you to get hurt, for next year. We really don't know anything about most of these. Even like you said, we know motivation. That's why we gravitate there in week 18. But the Bengals are in the same spot as even the teams maybe outside of the Bills, right? Because they're also playing a team that's very motivated to win, that needs to win. It's still definitely the Patriots are still alive with a loss, I believe, but it's a long laundry list of things they need to get into the playoffs with a loss. So outside of that one game, there's really not a lot of motivated versus motivated games. So the Bengals are in the same spot as the Eagles, right? The same spot as the Cowboys, the same spot as everybody. And so I think it knocks them down for me because I was very excited for like, look, Huntley's been good enough. You got Mark Andrews on one side. They cut Deshaun Jackson. I don't know what's going on in Baltimore, but Dobbins is out, right? It was very easy to make teams, which maybe would have made them more popular. But that was a different discussion. What it does make me like a little bit, Drizzy in the chat, Isaiah Likely. He was a guy I've been thinking about a lot this morning, actually. So I'm glad he brought him up. Tight end is just like wide open. There's a bunch of these guys. We're going to probably touch on more tight ends than we usually do in this show, but I do like him quite a bit. I think if, it's not just like Andrews might, play less or sit or whatever, but like they don't have any competition. It's one thing to have a new tight end stepping in, right? So I like Trey McBride as an example. Zach Ertz is out, finally starting to play every snap, get some targets, but like he still has Hollywood, right? Dortch, these other guys to compete for targets and a tough matchup. Likely's competing for targets with Demarcus Robinson. It's like then the offense flows through the tight end. So I do really like Isaiah Likely, and I think you can run him like as a bring back. Maybe they score a couple times on the Bengals, right? And maybe it's Likely. Next thing you know, your Bengals stacks look a lot better. So I do like the bringbacks for, say, the Bengals stacks, and Likely would probably be the guy that I would go to. Yeah. So let's talk about those. The other like kind of elite offenses. You mentioned the Eagles. We can start with the Eagles. Eagles, Bills, etc. Go ahead.
I'll just touch one more thing on Baltimore. Like if you're playing like some of the Baltimore guys, like Isaiah Likely, you can bring them back with like Chargers in the 4 p.m. game. Because I think if Baltimore wins, then the Chargers have something to play for.
I like that.
You could do some weird stacking if you really want to get crazy. But
there you go. Thank you for if you're not signed up for our sports betting partner, scoresandodds.com. Go to scoresandodds.com. There's tons of amazing betting picks. I already fired off some college basketball for this morning. You want to get a little sweat in before the football? That's what we need, right? More things to sweat this morning. All the experts and non-RotoGrinders people, tons of brilliant sports betting people are out there putting in their picks. This is an awesome week for that, where there's no one human brain can cover everything. So I'm really relying upon those people over at Scores and Odds to help me there. You can parlay. There's a take. You're talking about like correlating your Chargers and stuff. Take some overs on the the Ravens player props if there are any available for these guys. You find an Isaiah Likely over and parlay it with some Chargers overs, because those, like you said, are correlated. Mark Andrews is officially out, so that's certainly going to make Isaiah Likely a lot more popular. But also, I mean, he might be the best tight end play of the slate. We'll get to some other ones as well. Let's talk about those other, right? So we're going to get to some cheaper stacks and some cheaper quarterbacks. I know you have one tagged, and I think mentioned in the expert survey. I'm really intrigued by. I have a couple guys down there as well, but we have infinite money. We can really spend on whatever we want. If we do want to go get the raw points at quarterback, are you gravitating more towards, say, Hurts and the Eagles, or Allen and the Bills, or is it still Burrow? What are you doing with the elite quarterbacks and the elite offenses?
So I like Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. Now, with everything that's kind of evolved over the last couple of days, the Giants aren't even starting Tyrod Taylor. They're starting Davis Webb. That makes me like Jalen Hurts oddly a little bit less. And I'm worried about him coming back from an injury because we could get some of his points from rushing with his quarterback sneaks, the touchdowns, like with the shoulder injury. Are they going to want to risk that? And so I like Miles Sanders and I like the Eagles running backs, but I like probably Josh Allen as my top spend up, and maybe even Joe Burrow, then Hurts. One thing it's tough to get away from the implied point totals. So like the Eagles do have like almost a 30-point implied point total. I think that's the highest on the slate. So I think Hurts is in play, but I like Josh Allen a little bit more. And then it starts to get really messy after those three. Maybe yes. But then after those three, it starts to get messy. One thing we should point out for the sponsor of the show, FanDuel, the Packers-Lions game is on this slate, and that's a big deal because that's going to be an impactful game. It's the Sunday night game. It's the 8:20 game, and I actually think both Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff are reasonable plays. And actually, that game is getting more and more appealing as we see teams start to rest guys. Like we weren't necessarily expecting Baltimore to rest kind of everybody,
right?
But you've got that game, and that's actually a big deal.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's do that game really quickly right now because I think it's extremely important for FanDuel and maybe a little teaser for DraftKings Showdown. Right? It's fine. We can go off the rails in Week 18. That game, the Lions. I'm misremembering exactly every step that they need, to happen. They may not. It's if the Seahawks win, correct? If the Seahawks win, the Lions will be dead. They will not have anything to play for. However, they will have already set their inactives before they know what happens in the Seattle game. They will have already warmed up before they know what's, unless Seattle's up, goes up 28-0 in the first quarter or something like that, which I don't foresee happening. They will not technically know. And even if they did, Dan Campbell, star of Hard Knocks, and those Lions, no chance in the world he's not playing to win this game regardless, in my opinion. They've prepared all week to play, to win, to make the playoffs. And even if it's not ready, you don't think Dan Campbell wants to knock the Packers out of the playoffs in the last game at Lambeau, So that game is probably the clearest other than Bills Patriots to me of no matter what happens, both teams are going to go hard at that game, play to win, right? Obviously the Packers are going to. I think that just about everyone in that game is a pretty darn good tournament play. I think my favorites are Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. I'm Lucy with the football with DeAndre Swift. They keep dangling him out at good prices. He plays a little bit more every single week. And then, he goes back to 30% snaps, but I think those two are my favorite plays. But what do you think about that game, and how are you approaching it in your kind of FanDuel portfolio?
So yeah, I think you need to leave some space for that game, and it's interesting because the Rams Seahawks is a 4 p.m. game, and then you've got to worry that's going to impact the 8 o'clock game. But I think like you wrapped it up well. That I think that game is probably going to have some things to play for. Like I'd be surprised if that's a game where they're like totally resting people, even if the Lions don't have anything to play for. Because like you kind of mentioned the timing that's necessary there. So yeah, I think you've got to leave some space for that game. It's a fairly high scoring game relative to the rest of the slate, like 49.5 points. Green Bay's favorite by 5.5. Like 27 is one of the higher implied point totals. I actually like Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers playing at home make the playoffs. Like I like that, but I like Aaron Jones as well. I like the Detroit guys a little bit less, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably going to be in play. So yeah, I mean, I like that. I like Aaron Rodgers, and like I've said, kind of previous in the season, I think you can stack like Aaron Rodgers with Aaron Jones, and like run that back with like Amon-Ra St. Brown, or a DJ Shark.
And I think this week in particular, you can be a little looser with maybe some of the rigid rules around those correlations that you might be having, just because this slate is very bizarre, right? You can play. Aaron Jones is an excellent receiver. It's probably the best part of his skill set. And Rodgers throws to him all the time. He's probably going to throw him the ball a whole bunch tonight. Like I know Christian Watson's look good, Dobbs look good, etc. If there's anyone Aaron Rodgers trusts in a must-win game tonight, it's probably not the rookies who have dropped a lot of passes, and he kind of calls them out in the press and stuff. It's probably Aaron Jones. And so, yeah, totally agree. And I think Aaron Rodgers is not a guy that we typically play in DFS. But again, this slate, we know it's very difficult to find some guys who A, are in good spots, and B, are motivated to score a bunch of points, and they're good at football, right? It's a parlay we got to hit just to find a guy to click into our lineup, and he actually hits all of those. So let's go back to kind of the main-ish slate. Since we covered that one, I'm glad you brought that up. I do think that is important. Let's pivot to the other side now, kind of quarterback and the stacks. I don't want to disregard the middle tier, but the middle tier is pretty ugly. It feels stars and scrubsy-ish for me at quarterback on both sides. I'm interested to hear your take. I know Jonathan Williams, who we will get to at running back, is going to be quite popular, but I know you've brought up Sam Howell. I like Sam Howell a lot. I liked him as a prospect. He's the exact kind of cheap quarterback that we want to use in terms of his skill set rushing. He ran like a madman at North Carolina. He ran in the preseason. He has good weapons. The Cowboys, I'm not totally afraid of their defense. So I really like Howell down there. I also am going to throw out one more attached to your boy Rashid Shaheed, Andy Dalton. If you're going to go down guns blazing, we might as well go down with the red rifle in week 18. But he's actually projects on DraftKings as the best point per dollar quarterback on the slate, which sounds absurd, but he's basically the same price as Howell. He's sub 5K. Against the Panthers, who just got torched they reinvigorated the career of Mike Evans and Tom Brady last week. And it's not just that, but they're injury riddled and they're not playing for anything. So they're going to be playing a bunch of street free agent level defensive players. And I think the Saints are still going to play their guys. So those would be my two favorite punt quarterbacks. Talk about just generally quarterback outside of the studs.
So yeah, so I like Sam Howell, and you brought up the same reasons that I like him. He rushes a little bit. He's a rookie, fairly I think 4th round draft pick, but he's somebody that Washington, if they can get him, they want to see what they have him, and he can run the ball. Not particularly afraid of the Cowboys defense, and he's absolutely dirt cheap. Andy Dalton, I do like Dalton. He doesn't have the rushing upside that Sam Howell might have, and I think he's a little bit more expensive on both sides because he's been playing. Yeah. Somebody that I'm a little bit fascinated in is who's really cheap is Deshaun Watson. Now he is a guy you're going to have to check the actives and inactives, but I believe they'd be playing Deshaun Watson, and they kind of have some motivation to make Deshaun Watson look good going into this offseason with everything that's gone around. That the whole situation, if they can have Deshaun Watson have a big game this week, that's something they kind of point to going into the offseason and say, like, well, we've got some momentum. And we remember what he can do from back in Houston. And he hasn't looked good this season, but there's kind of been some situations surrounding each game. Like they played that game against New Orleans where it was like freezing cold and the total was like 30 points just because of the cold and the wind. And he's somebody that I like, given that he's so cheap. And then you can really kind of roll the dice. Like maybe Joe Flacco is somebody as well, because we know he's got some talented wide receivers. So Flacco is another guy that I'm interested in once you get down to like the dirt cheap backups.
One thing I don't want to dive too hard in this. I think Howell is probably my favorite guy down there, but I think you just brought up we could probably talk through more of these guys. I think that this is a good range to live in. I'm not going to say I'm disregarding the Josh Allens of the world because that's certainly not true. But that if you have some guys you do want to spend some money on, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, what have you, at the other positions, I think there's a lot to like down here. There's a lot of, and there's not a ton of opportunity cost, right? Josh Allen is maybe the best quarterback play. Him and I guess, you brought up Hurts. I totally agree with your take on Hurts. Allen and Burrow are like probably the best quarterback plays to me, like just, in a vacuum, ignoring salary and point per dollar and everything. But like, we would really never be playing Josh Allen against the Patriots much in a normal slate. It's just, we don't have any, we got to click somebody, right? And we have salary to spend. So he just kind of de facto becomes that guy. We talked about the issues with Burrow. And so the opportunity cost is not that great. And you can get some guys that you may not be able to get with those elite quarterbacks. So I like a lot of these punt guys. It is absolutely hilarious. Week 18 is supposed to be like, the third string rookies, right? We're supposed to be getting, Sam Howell. Sam Howell is the week 18 archetype of a player. It's all these dusty veterans, like Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, like it's all these crappy old veterans that are getting in here. Like the Texans haven't been playing for weeks, and they're playing Royce Freeman and Rex Burkhead and Dare. Like these dudes are older than me. It's like, what is going on here with these teams? Where's the week 18 fun?
Yeah. I mean, I like some of the veterans though. I like some of these guys having a last drop. Like if you're Joe Flacco, you're going to air it out, right? Like,
yep.
Andy Dalton, same thing, right? Like, what is he holding back? So I do think, it's going to be a mix. I think my ideal week 18 rosters are rosters that have a mix of certainty and uncertainty, right? So like you can play, and then that works out well with the salary, just the way things evolve, with DFS pricing over the course of the week. You have guys that were total backups or minimum priced, like a Sam Howell or like a Joe Flacco or, these guys that are really down there in the salary, and then you compare them with like a Jamar Chase, guys that are super expensive. I do like Josh Allen though, because I like that actually is a guy that we would potentially be playing as GPP pivots maybe, but like really
right.
GPP pivots during the regular season. Like their Bills' implied point total is 26. It's one of the higher ones out there. They have as much certainty in that game as you can ask for in week 18. Especially relative to the rest of these games, the way it's evolved. So I like kind of Josh Allen more and more as like a clear QB1 ahead of like Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow.
Yep. I think that makes total sense. Really quickly though, on the Bills, how's your preference to build a Josh Allen team? Both from, is it mostly Diggs, Knox, Gabe, right? How are you building Josh Allen teams? And then are there Patriots on the other side that you really want to use as bringbacks?
So I think I'd treat it just like any other week. I think you compare him with anyone. I think even Isaiah McKenzie, I think, has some kind of like 45-yard contract incentive, which is like a decent amount for him. Gabe Davis is super cheap, especially on DraftKings.
Really cheap.
And that actually makes me think I like maybe Gabe Davis a little bit more than Stephon Diggs, for the price, although the price doesn't matter that much. But you've got to think that maybe Gabe Davis is a guy they want to get going into the playoffs. And so there's maybe some dual motivation here where they want to both, win the game, but they also want to get some of their guys going into the playoffs. In terms of Patriots running it back, like I kind of like Jacoby Myers. He's probably like set up well for this kind of game where it's going to be receptions. Like if the Patriots are really playing from behind, that's more pass attempts. So Jacoby Myers probably my number one bring back. Probably Myers.
I'll add. So Jonnu Smith is out again, so that does make me. You see, Hunter Henry is. When I look at all the flex plays in this game, he is the best point per dollar. That happens a lot with tight end, but he is only 3,300. Same price as a Trey McBride, similar to a Tyler Conklin, who CJ Uzoma is out. You mentioned Flacco. You obviously don't have to play Flacco because you're playing Conklin, but Conklin's another cheap tight end that I really like. Without Uzoma, he's going to play like every snap. Really good matchup against Miami. So there's a lot to like down here, but Hunter Henry, I think, makes for a good bring back. And if you want to get, if you need like a puntish wide receiver, I also like, if you don't want Jacoby or maybe you need the savings, I like Tyquan Thornton. He's 3,300 on DraftKings. He's a second round rookie. He is lightning fast. I'm not sure that he's a great wide receiver just yet, but he ran sub 4.340 at the combine, and big play threat. Obviously, the Bills don't. It's not a perfect matchup for him, but he's basically taken over the every snap role on the outside. So Jacoby Myers plays in the slot. Tyquan Thornton is on the outside, and then kind of these other veteran bums that probably aren't going to be on the team next year are rotating through at the third and fourth wide receiver spots. But he's playing 90+% of snaps now, and like I said, they're trying to win. They've been trying to win, so this isn't like a Week 18 rookie thing. This is like he is their guy now. So I think the Bills stack is really appealing, not just because it's appealing because it's the Bills and because we don't have a lot of other options. There's a lot of good Patriots on the other side, and the Bills defense is strong, but it's kind of slowly gotten worse over the course of the season, right? They've suffered a lot of injuries. They've gotten Tre'Davious White back. I don't want to really touch on the Monday night thing, but they're going to be obviously very emotional and probably pumped up to play this game, but they did lose another starter, due to the freak stuff on Monday night. And so, I think this game could have a lot more points than maybe you would think at face value, Bills Patriots. So I really like this one. Is there, we'll get to running back here in a second, but is there a game stack, specifically a game stack that, is maybe not one that other people are targeting that you're like really high on? You're going to be like, maybe the most overweight game that you're going after this week?
It's really tough to game stack, and I wouldn't game stack like I normally would. Like I in terms of like number one game stack, I would say maybe it is New England and Buffalo, because I think that's going to be the game where teams are have that kind of dual motivation.
Yep.
Yeah, like I feel like I kind of said like when I'm thinking about game stacks, it's like Baltimore and the Chargers, because it's across games. Like teams'
right.
motivations are gonna vary across games like that. Yeah, so it probably the number one game stack that I like is maybe is that New England Buffalo. Maybe like I kind of like Washington and Dallas. It might be like a little bit of homerism, but I could see like Dallas wants to win that game. Got these like interdivision games and these kind of rivalries. And Washington Dallas is a big one. I think Jonathan Williams is going to be in play, so maybe like do like a Jonathan Williams and CeeDee Lamb if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sam Howell because I think he's going to be out there the whole game, and he's got the rushing ability, and they really do want to see what they have in him. So it wouldn't surprise me to if they let him air it out a little bit, and also gain some ground with his legs. So I like Jahan Dotson. So maybe like it sounds ridiculous, but like Sam Howell, Jahan Dotson, like CeeDee Lamb
For all the money. Yep.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, Doug asked about while we're on that game. That's the game I thought you were going to bring up, and I totally agree on that game. What I like is, so like you said, I think I'm not building 150 teams, but I know that you are. If I were, I would be kind of loosening the reins. Again, I'm loosening the reins on kind of everything I would do on a normal slate a little bit, right? And the game stacking thing is probably the biggest element of that. I of course want to do it when it makes sense. And I do think like the Washington, like these teams that aren't playing for anything can be bad bringback sometimes if you're doing it just to do it. But when you do it in a situation like this one, where we need the Cowboys to be pushed to keep the foot on the gas, right? We know that they are going to play to win, but I think Washington is in a really good spot where all they really did was take out a crappy quarterback and put in a quarterback that like we don't really know how good he is. Nothing else really changed. And so, but I do think, as Doug asked, I think that makes Dak in play as well. I like the Howell side. I like the savings that Howell gets you, but it's a sneakily decent spot for Dak, right? And again, CD makes for a good stacking partner. I like Dalton Schultz as a tight end today. And we have a lot of good options on the Washington side, whether it's Jonathan Williams or Dotson, right? Or Terry McLaurin is going to be completely unowned on this slate. And maybe Howell's just better. He could be way worse too, but maybe he's just better than Wentz and McLaurin. So I like Washington quite a bit. Yeah,
I don't think that worries me about Dak is like, I feel some confidence that Sam Howell's going to be out there the whole game. Like if the Cowboys are running all over Washington, it makes sense for them to pull Dak at halftime. So that's a thing I'm concerned about. And then I would pivot maybe to to the Cowboys running backs, but that's like a split backfield, and they're also probably going to be pulling guys at halftime. So I like the wide receivers a little bit more. I like the wide receivers in that situation more because a guy like CeeDee Lamb can get there in one play. Like a 50-yard touchdown reception, like that's all he kind of needs. Whereas like the running backs aren't going to be out there to grind out, 6-8 yard gains that you want to see from like an upside ceiling game from a running back.
Very good point. Very good point. Some questions. I promise I'm not ignoring all these. There's a lot more quarterbacks to talk about than you would probably think on this slate. It's kind of because there's no one separating at the top that the fringy guys you can talk yourself into playing them. Javon mentions a Russell Wilson stack. I don't know who it was that has him tagged in lineup HQ, but someone tagged Russell Wilson, and kind of similarly, I don't think that that's crazy. I think that there's Russ is kind of like I don't know how to compare him to, but Deshaun Watson. You mentioned Deshaun Watson. Those two feel similar to me in that, look, the season has not gone how either of these two teams thought it was going to go after spending, everything on these two quarterbacks. But they're cheap. They run. Both franchises probably want to look, let's see if we can get things rolling in one final game. Russ is maybe going to be playing against a bunch of Chargers backups. We don't know that yet, right? Like you said, but it's possible. And he does have, a lot of his guys at his disposal. All of a sudden, Albert O became a thing in week 17 after not playing all season long. And then like the Watson, I kind of grouping these two guys together, but they have good weapons to include. I like Amari Cooper. He had a big game last week. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? And so there's a lot of appeal to these kind of fringy quarterback guys that maybe we wouldn't normally be interested in.
Yeah, I think you can play Denver. I like Watson a little bit more because I think there's more rushing upside. Like Wilson had 2 rushing touchdowns last week, and that's really what elevated the score. I think that's really hard to predict, like quarterback rushing touchdowns. So I like Watson a little bit better. Yeah, it is. It's a very similar situation. Deshaun Watson has just looked bad for less time than Russell Wilson. But it is. It's a similar play, and it's a good point. I mean, they have some incentive to make Russell Wilson look good, and he might be playing against all backups, whereas Deshaun Watson is probably going to be playing against the Steelers starters.
Yep, because the Steelers are motivated to win. However, that does make, if you do want to game stack, it does make it more straightforward on the Steelers side. If you want to, you want to play up Watson to DPJ stack, and you play Pat Freiermuth as your bring back, right? Or Deontay Johnson or Najee, right there. You guys know the cast of characters on the Steelers, which I never really want to click any of those guys, but that those guys are going to be playing because the Steelers are playing to win. There's this disappointed me. I know I am the only sicko on the planet that probably cared about this very much, but I tagged and really wanted to play Raheem Blackshear from Carolina because I thought if Foreman didn't play, he was going to get a lot more work than everybody expected at 4K. But my dreams are gone. Ignore me about that. A good question: are you doing anything with? I don't. You don't have to give away your whole process. Are you doing anything different than you normally would in terms of how much salary you're using or allowing, how much are you allowing your lineups to leave on the table this week?
I think you can, like lineups that use a lot less salary, I guess are more plausible than they usually are. I'm not really doing that. There's still enough spend ups. It's not like a total preseason.
No.
And I would so you can still spend up for like Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. I think like the Vikings still do have something to play for. I think they can get the number 2 seed.
Yep.
And they don't know. It depends on what happens with the San Francisco game. And that's likely a win for San Francisco, but I don't think Minnesota can play it like that. Because I think Minnesota's in the early game, San Francisco's in the afternoon game. So again, you can still spend up for the Minnesota guys. Kenneth Walker. There are still spend ups out there that I don't think you need to go. And I know like Josh Allen. So you don't need to go to absolute minimum salary.
And I think Josh Allen is. I'm glad you mentioned him, and we'll get to Doug. We'll get to your follow up question here because I do want to talk about the Vikings because they are motivated, but they are also in a very similar situation to Eagles, 49ers, et cetera, where all those teams they're all motivated to win. It's just that they're playing against like an XFL team. It's like they're motivated to win, but they're gonna win. Like we know that the Bears are trotting out Nathan Peterman, and the offense was not functional even with Justin Fields in there. So I don't know what it's gonna look like with Nathan Peterman. But the Kirk Cousins, is he a guy that like I really hate clicking him, but what are you doing with the Vikings? Justin Jefferson, Justin Jefferson, I believe he needs 181 yards or something like that let's just call it 200 just to make it an easy number. He needs 200 yards to break the single season receiving record. They need to win. So theoretically all that, comes together very nicely for Justin Jefferson. I don't know that makes me want to play Kirk Cousins. But what are you doing with the Vikings in general?
I do. I like Justin Jefferson because I think he wants that receiving yards record. And like, so they have some motivation, and Jefferson like wants that receiving yards record. So I like him as a spend up option. There is some concern, like, well, what if they start pulling guys? But like, the situation I get really concerned about is when a team has absolutely nothing to play for. Because if the coach runs out an expensive player or a key player in a game like that where there's literally nothing to play for and the guy gets hurt, like the coach should be fired. If Minnesota can point to something and say, like, well, we're playing for the number 2 seed, even if the game is like, we kind of think it's meaningless because, like, well, we assume San Francisco is going to beat Arizona. So, like, Minnesota doesn't really have that much to play for. Like, they still can say, well, we're going to run our guys out there because we don't know. We don't know for sure. And you see crazy things in the NFL all the time. And that kind of justifies leaving Justin Jefferson out there long enough to maybe get, give him a shot at 200 yards, right? Dalvin Cook, I like a little bit less because they have Alexander Madison there, and running back is like a more, injury prone position. It's much tougher running into the line than running down the field. For a wide receiver. So I like Justin Jefferson is my top spend up from that game. I think you can play some Dalvin Cook. I think you can play like some Alexander Madison in a really large field. I do expect they're probably going to stop all over the Bears and Nathan Peterman.
Yep.
So I like the Vikings defense as well. Cousins I don't like as much because I think you can kind of get exposure there. Like, I think he's just going to be peppering Justin Jefferson with targets, trying to get that receiving yards record. So like Jefferson and Josh Allen rather than like Kirk Cousins.
Right. And that's what I was going to say about Josh Allen, just to put a bow on him. I had totally blanked. I was reading the questions and trying to make sure I didn't miss any inactives. Instead of playing a Cousins or something like that, or this case could be made for the punt guys too. If you have salary, just go get Josh Allen, right? Yeah, honestly, even if you can disagree if you would like to. If you go up and get Josh Allen, even if you don't stack him, you game stack another game where you have a bunch of cheap pieces. The Saints, that Saints game, I really do like the Saints game. I like both sides of it. Shaheed, Olave, right? Whatever, even Kamara, these guys are all cheap. So instead of playing Andy Dalton, who cannot win you the slate, no offense, I like him, but he's not going to go drop 40 today. Sorry, Andy. Josh Allen can. And then you talked about that element of certainty and uncertainty mixed in. Like Josh Allen is certainty, and I'm just going to go pay to get that, and I'm still getting the benefits of that game stack, right? And this is a unique week where I can do that. A lot of times we'll do it the opposite end, right? We were doing it with like Justin Fields. You're like, I'm gonna game stack the Bills game, but I'm going to use Justin Fields as my 5K guy to save the salary. I think you can do the inverse of that this week with like a Josh Allen or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much value out there that like Josh Allen. I'm starting to question why don't we just play Josh Allen?
That's how I feel.
Maybe like on FanDuel, I think Aaron Rodgers is in that conversation, playing at home, trying to get into the playoffs. Like there isn't as much need to go down to like these backup quarterbacks as like it is fun. Like it's fun to play like Sam Howell. It's kind of fun to play some of these guys, but like you just play Josh Allen and pair him with like Jonathan Williams, right? And like some of the savings at running back or wide receiver. So yeah, I think the mix of like certainty and salary is what we're looking for in the ideal lineup this week.
Yeah, I think I've been honestly struggling both all week and all morning with kind of putting together teams and stuff like that. And as we've talked, it's so funny that you said that. As we've talked through this, I'm just kind of like, I think I'm just going to put Josh Allen in. Like, I would like to play Diggs, right? I would like to play Davis, blah, blah, blah. I would like to play some of these Patriots. But if it doesn't work out that way, I'm like, I think I'm just going to play Josh Allen and take your 25 points to the bank. Hopefully he scores 40, but like win the slate elsewhere. Like, I don't think that quarterback is really probably right. If we're talking about Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and Sam Howell and stuff, like, I mean, I guess maybe they can go score 35, but like, I don't know. Are you really going to distance yourself at quarterback? Probably not. And so I kind of think I'll probably just be personally playing Josh Allen. Let's talk about running back now, because it is a very interesting running back slate. We've talked about Jonathan Williams a few different times. He is going to be one of your higher owned running backs. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson are both out. And Jonathan Williams looks like he should get the majority of the work. A little bit of kind of always uncertainty in that situation. They called up Jarrett Patterson, who actually was their third running back last season. So I do have a little bit of concern that Jonathan Williams is really more in a timeshare than he is kind of a lead back. But he projects obviously very well. And then you see the likes of Kenneth Walker, Tyler Algier up here at the top. I would be stunned if Miles Sanders is the fourth highest owned running back, but maybe I'm wrong about that. What are you looking at just generally at a high level at running back? Who are your favorite targets?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's some of these like higher, the guys we've got projected as being higher owned. I do like Kenneth Walker. Seattle has something to play for. They've been running the ball more lately. Tyler Algier. I mean, it's basically rookies, right? Like, want their rookies to look good. So I do think Jonathan Williams is in play, but I agree. Like, Jarrett Patterson is actually a little bit of a concern. It's just that they gave Williams the work like last week. So I think he's like nobody's safe, and it's going to be rare for a running back to get all of the carries. So I'm expecting maybe a 2/3, kind of a standard split, like 2/3, 1/3. Jonathan Williams, like Jarrett Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably just as much room for upside with Williams as there is for downside. I do like Miles Sanders this week because I think it makes sense if the Eagles get up big that they would just run the ball with Sanders more than Jalen Hurts. They do have like a kind of stable backup running backs like Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, but that's been a concern all season with Miles Sanders, and he still had some good games. And it actually maybe thinks they might run him a little bit more, like if he's been wanting the ball more in the locker room or something, like they're going to give the ball more to Miles Sanders this week. I'm not super high on Christian McCaffrey because I do get worried about San Francisco in that game, and he's actually been losing some work early in the game to some of the other San Francisco running backs.
And Mitchell is back. Elijah Mitchell is also back. So and Debo's back. It's like there's a lot of bad signs for CMC in a game where they should kind of just stomp out the Cardinals. Yeah.
It's going to be a highly volatile week. But I like Justin Jefferson as a spend up more than Christian McCaffrey. And just because it's almost just positional wide receiver. I like spending up at wide receiver more than the running back. Cam Akers and Najee Harris both obviously in play. They like Cam Akers has looked good. So I was doing the show with James to win on Friday, and I was kind of laughing about like Cam Akers and Howard O being the guys. In week 18, it's like, we saw it in the preseason, right? Like we had it the whole time. And then like Joe Mixon, I like the Cincy running backs, but it's a concerning potential split between Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine.
Yep.
And there's just no way the Bengals might not even know how that split is going to work out right now.
True.
That's the running back position for me. See if there's anybody I missed. D'Ernest Johnson is a guy I think is super like large field, but we don't know what the Browns are going to do. And he's a guy that they've maybe been like wanting to get more. We don't even have him in lineup HQ. I hope he's active. Check to make sure he's active.
Yeah.
D'Ernest Johnson's a name that was like kind of in the back of my mind as like a 1 in 150 play because he was a name at the trade deadline. They weren't able to move him.
Yep. And if I also have not checked earlier this week, I did a show with Matt Kelly, the pod father, if you will, from Player Profiler. And he asked, it's like Wednesday of week 18. And he's like, who's the like slam dunk, week 18 random running back or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, Matt, it's Wednesday. I don't know. The teams don't even know who's playing yet. I don't know either. But I actually gravitated to this Cleveland situation as well. I think, as you see here, I think Jerome Ford will be the guy that's the third running back over Dearness. I don't know what Dearness like must have like punched a puppy in the locker room or something like that, because like he was awesome for them last year, and he just like they kept him and they don't use him. I don't know what's going on, but Jerome Ford's a third round rookie for Cleveland. I think Kareem Hunt is going to be gone. He's a free agent in the offseason. I really don't see a reason why they're going to run the crap out of Nick Chubb here today. And so the same reason why you were thinking about Dearness Johnson is, if it's not Dearness, I think Jerome Ford is like, and like you said, these are large field, kind of crazy off the wall plays, but that's what this week is for. Sprinkle, right? You can never sprinkle a third string running back in, during week 8 DFS or whatever. That's what this week is for. We're going to look back in 6 hours and we're going to be like, what? That guy ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not going to be the guys we expect. So I think it's a good slate to kind of take, especially like you said, Millie Maker, right? Quarter Arcade, whatever you're playing. I think those are good guys to take it. That was my Raheem Blackshear. I wanted to play Raheem. I might still play some Raheem Blackshear because I'm stubborn. But like those 4K guys that aren't Jonathan Williams, I think if you have conviction on them, right? You've brought up the Chargers a couple times. I think there could be Chargers guys when we get to the 4 p.m. slate where you're like, Eckler's inactive. Maybe it's Kelly or Roundtree or Isaiah Spiller finally gets on the field. But I think that there's going to be guys like that. And I'm kind of more interested in a lot of those guys than, say, a Jonathan Williams. I do really I think Cam Akers, like you said, it's so funny that we're doing this song and dance. But Cam Akers, ownership and like projection and price and everything considered and matchup considered, I think would be my favorite kind of non-weird week 18 type play. Like he's what's the 7th highest owned running back, 6th, 7th highest owned running back at 6,200 against Seattle. I think that they're going to really compete with Seattle today. So I really do like it. Because I also like Kamara. I just can't believe I'm going to go down with a team led by Andy Dalton in week 18. But I just think the Panthers defense is falling apart. Brian Burns, their stud defensive end, is also out today. I think the Saints are going to score a lot of points. They could have scored a ton of points on the Eagles last week. So I really like the Saints, just generally speaking today. Any kind of off the board running backs that we haven't actually, let me hit some people's questions. I promise I wasn't.
Dearness Johnson. There's no more off the board.
Yeah. Really. We talked about Dearness Johnson and Raheem Blackshear and Isaiah Spiller. So yeah, that's probably good enough. Will you play any of these type guys though? Our macro asked about Alexander Madison, him or right? You brought up Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Alexander Madison, whatever, right? These teams are playing for something, but we're kind of Eli Mitchell, right? We're expecting them to beat the crap out of anybody. It's a little too thin to kind of guess on that. Or are you sprinkling them in at all?
I think you'd absolutely sprinkle them in, like if you're doing 150 lineups. Actually, I like Alexander Madison as a call because I think he's one of those like really talented backups that he could potentially be like clamoring for more work, and maybe this is their chance to let him go and have kind of a game. But I do think Dalvin Cook is still probably going to play maybe until the game gets out of hand, but it might get out of hand quickly. So maybe you pair Alexander Madison with like that Vikings defense and say like if Peterman's throwing a couple of picks or whatever and the game gets out of hand, then Alexander Madison is going in faster. So like maybe it's like I think Madison and Minnesota defense is a good pairing. Yep.
I totally agree. No necessarily argument. Anthony brings up Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss is more than a reasonable play. He's been getting a lot of work. He gets Houston. And Anthony says, I mean, I don't think it matters what Houston wants, to be totally honest, the way they've been playing. But the Colts also, it hasn't mattered. They can't compete. So both of these teams want to lose. And I think Zach Moss probably is going to get a lot of work, especially with Sam Ehlinger back there. I think that's fair. And any read on the Baltimore backfield without Dobbins? Are you doing anything there?
Probably not going there, just because I don't know if I want to be playing a Anthony Brown led offense too much. So like maybe kind of like Isaiah Likely is my favorite Raven. Just a note on Zach Moss. I am high on Moss. Like the Houston run defense has been terrible. he just doesn't catch a lot of passes, which concerns me. So that's maybe more of a concern on DraftKings than on FanDuel with full point reception on DraftKings. But that's just wild. Zach Moss is maybe at the bottom of list of running backs that I'm high on.
I totally agree. I like him, and I'm loosening the reins a little bit on, like, I'm very anti non-pass catching back. It's I don't like to play J.K. Dobbins. I've forced myself to play Miles Sanders a few times this year, right? I get buried by Derrick Henry very frequently because I'm stubborn on that. But this week I will loosen the reins a smidge. But I think the pass catching guys can be real difference makers because I think everyone's loosening the reins. Look at the top of it's all non-pass catching guys really until you get to CMC. I know Walker and Algier and these guys can catch and might catch a few, but we're not talking about big time pass catchers at running back here at the top of ownership. So I do think it's something you should still prioritize. What about Najee? Any love for Najee?
So the thing with Najee Harris is that he's been getting more work lately, and Pittsburgh needs to win this game. So yeah, Najee Harris is definitely in play. It's just the Jalen Warren, the situation is a little bit of concern, but Najee's looked better lately, so I think you can absolutely go there. If you have the salary, I think that's a reasonable play.
I like it. Did you see? I know we're running fairly short on time. I don't want to go on a total side tangent. Cleveland, Jadeveon Clowney, just like before the season was over, basically gave a big old middle finger to the team saying, I don't want to be here. And the team let him go. It was a Derek Carr situation, except the Derek Carr thing was like, look, we don't want to pay you. It was a monetary thing. Jadeveon Clowney was just like, we hate you and you hate us. Why don't you just go home, dude? So I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh, I do think, like you said, Deshaun Watson makes some sense, and so do like Donovan Peoples-Jones and stuff. But I think the Steelers are in a decent spot today. We haven't been afraid of the Cleveland defense all year, and I'm certainly not going to be worried about them now in Week 18. Lots of running back questions, and lots of Samaje Perine love. A bunch of different people have brought up Samaje Perine. I guess he has some incentives. Maybe forgive me if I don't know what the Samaje Perine contract incentives are off the top of my head. But
I saw it earlier this week. The thing is, he needs like 124 rushing yards.
Oh, Jesus.
To get $100,000 bonus.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how realistic that is, but maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Samaje Perine's getting 124 yards. And because that's a meaningful game for Cincinnati, and they like both Joe Mixon and Perine. I don't think they'd want to run Perine so much that he gets that 124 rushing yards, because they want those guys for the playoffs.
Yeah. Incentives are something that's worthwhile to look at. We also have to take into account all the factors when it comes to an incentive. The Bengals first and foremost are trying to win a Super Bowl. Also, the total dollar value of that incentive. I know it's look, $100,000. We're trying to win $100,000 today. It's clearly a meaningful amount of money, but like this isn't like a $3 million incentive for Samaje Perine. He's been in the league for like 7 years now, and it's a pretty astronomical number. He didn't run for 124 yards when he was playing every snap with Joe Mixon out. I don't foresee that he's gonna get there today. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Career high is like 117.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry. If he is a former Week 17, new Week 18 hero back in the day. Yeah, he was a Week 18 king back then. Let's talk. We talked a lot of running backs. We also talked a lot of quarterbacks. We mentioned a lot of the tight ends. I don't want, unless we miss somebody that really pops out to you, feel free. But I think we touched on a good chunk of the tight ends. So let's hit some wide receivers before we get out of here. We touched on quite a few of them as we went through our stacks. But was there anybody, just that wide receiver by himself that is a really high priority for you?
So I do like Justin Jefferson. I'm probably going to spend up, I think, at wide receiver and save money at running back. Because even some of the running backs that I think are spend ups are actually pretty cheap. Like Miles Sanders it's too cheap. So like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. I like spending up a wide receiver in part because I think a wide receiver can really pay off in one play or two plays, more so than a running back. So like I'm more willing to take a risk on a wide receiver who might be sitting the fourth quarter than I am a running back, if that makes sense. Stephon Diggs probably isn't getting as much like attention as I do think he should be getting, particularly the way the week has evolved, where Buffalo still has something to play for. So Diggs absolutely belongs in that conversation. And then probably the guy like Gabe Davis, because like you talk about a guy that can pay off in one play. Like Gabe Davis can pay off in one play, and that's going to be like a real NFL game. The guys in terms of like the higher ownership guys that they've got pulled up, like love Rashid Shaheed. Been talking about him for weeks now. He's another guy that can pay off in one play, and he's a guy that they could feed the ball to a little bit more because he's not super highly paid. So like I want to say they don't care if he gets hurt, but you don't want to get your quarterback, going into the playoffs hurt. Rashid Shaheed, and he's an undrafted rookie. Like, let him go have a great game and make some money. It was the guy like Matt Flynn back in the day, right? Who was got tens of millions of dollars based off of his Week 17 performance for the Green Bay Packers at quarterback. Like, let Rashid Shaheed go put up 100-yard plus game, and we know he can do it. Garrett Wilson, Drake London. It is totally appropriate that it's all kind of rookies that we've got in terms of ownership there, in terms of ranking. Because teams want their rookies to look good. When their team's rookies look good, that makes the general manager looks good. It makes the coaching staff look good, right? Like, oh, we brought this guy in and look at it, he put up 150 yards in week 18 by the time our coaching staff was done with him, and what a great pick by the general manager. So I love the idea of playing rookies this week at all positions.
Yep, I totally agree. And the rookies or these young kind of end of the roster guys are why we talked about Dearness and Jerome Ford and these random guys. They're tournament sprinkles in your 150 set or whatever. But those are the guys. It's not going to be Rex Burkhead. It's not going to be that kind of guy. It's going to be this random, right? Like you said, there's a reason why Shaheed is the highest and deservedly, in my opinion, the highest owned wide receiver on DraftKings. Same thing, like you said, with Wilson, etc. But when I'm chasing those kind of really fringy differentiator type guys, I like, again, like if I'm breaking a tie, right, I'm going to break it with the kind of the youth. Because there's obviously incentive, like you said, for the front office, for that player's future, all that. Lots to play for those kind of rookies. Love the Shaheed call. I'm really sad that he's going to be this popular, but I'm stubborn and I'm probably still just going to play him, to be totally honest. I'll figure out how to make a good team around Shaheed. You talked a little bit. Do you have a preference if you're playing Watson on Amari versus DPJ?
Not really. Probably Amari. I'd have to say probably Amari. But I think you can go either way.
To kind of close out wide receiver, I will just say I like Shaheed. I have a few kind of punty-ish options. But I generally agree with you that there's kind of a bunch of value to value-ish running backs, right? Like even like you said, Miles Sanders, like Cam Akers, like he's 6,200. We're not talking about an 8K guy. Like that's affordable. And so I'm doing a lot kind of the stars and scrubsy-ish wide receiver type stuff, the 4,500 and cheaper type guys. And then like I'll play Jefferson, I'll play Diggs, I'll play Chase, I'll play those guys. Any of the studs though, before we start to get out of here, that maybe are going overlooked, right? We've talked about Diggs. He projects for the most fantasy points. Talked about Chase. Tyreek Hill. Are you going to play any Tyreek Hill? Any AJ Brown? DK Metcalf? Someone in the chat was asking about DK Metcalf. Any of these studs that are going overlooked?
I like AJ Brown better than Tyreek Hill, just because I like Jalen Hurts better than Skylar Thompson. So I know that I know Tyreek can break a slate. I like AJ Brown better. And the Eagles want to win this game. We just are concerned they're going to win it very quickly.
Right.
So, but I still that's got to come from somewhere. So I like AJ Brown more than Tyreek Hill. I think DK Metcalf is absolutely in play. We didn't touch on Seattle enough. I like the idea, like I like Kenneth Walker a little bit better than DK Metcalf, but like DK Metcalf should absolutely be in play. And then Drake London, I saw a comment about Drake London.
Yeah.
I like Drake London. I get a little bit concerned that Atlanta doesn't throw the ball enough, but London should absolutely be in consideration.
I totally agree. Well, we did talk about CD. Oh, I wanted to bring up, Chris Olave. I like Chris Olave quite a bit as well. I know we're talking about Shaheed, but like we're not that far removed from Chris Olave being the guy like on main slates at 6,200 that we would be like he would be the highest owned wide receiver. He's fallen off a little bit, but it's like you mentioned with Watson, a little bit of bad weather, right? A little bit of kind of they've only thrown 20 passes sometimes, but no MT, no Landry. Good matchup. I really like Chris Olave too, and he's obviously pretty strong leverage off of the highest owned wide receiver. You can play them both, but also you could leverage off of Shaheed. All right. If you have questions, we've tried to hit as many as possible. There are way too many things to discuss for an hour show on that. You could talk for 3 hours about this slate, but we do got to get out of here running a little behind for the Crunch Time Trio every week. Final time. Conviction play. What in week 18, what player or stack or whatever do you need to have in tournament lineups to win the last regular season slate of this 2022-2023 season?
I'm going to go with a double stack. I'm doing Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis.
Oh, baby.
That, and there's something to play for. And I think people are like think about all of the guys we've talked about like on this show. Like people are going to get I think too fancy. Like go play Josh Allen, like Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and then fill in with a bunch of guys that like are playing for contract incentives or like rookies or whoever. You can afford that stack, and there's some certainty there. So that's my stack to win it all.
I totally agree with you. And this is a little bit chalky, but I don't care. It's week 18. This is a week 18 guy. This is a guy I've been on since the freaking preseason, since he was at Coastal Carolina. It's time. Isaiah Likely season is finally upon us. Anthony Brown, please, God, do not let us down. Feed that man the rock. That's how you can get your Josh Allen stacks, by paying down for Isaiah Likely at tight end. Shout out to Mr. Richard. Thank you for joining us. I know you've been here most weeks. We got to get out of here. I don't know if the show is coming back for the playoffs, to be totally honest with you, but we'll definitely be around. John and I are not going anywhere in terms of content, but thank you for hanging out with us all throughout the course of the regular season, and good luck in week 18.
We're here back at the Fantasy Bar with your pints and picks for Week 18, presented by BetMGM. Use promo code GRINDERS for risk-free bet up to $1,000. 11-4 over the last 8 weeks. Let's keep it going here. First pick for you, the Pittsburgh Steelers, -2.5. Playoffs still alive for them. 7-3 against the number over the last 10. 5-1 against the spread over the last 6. And 5-0 against teams with losing records against the numbers. Browns just 1-5 against the numbers following a win here. I think the Steelers get it done at home. Next pick for you, Minnesota on the road in Chicago, -7.5. Now, no Justin Fields, and I got 2 words for you here. Nathan Peterman. This guy is horrible. The Vikings still have a shot at the 2 seed. The Bears 1-6 against the number over their last 7. I think the Vikings roll here by double digits. That'll do it for Pints and Picks for Week 18. Again, presented by BetMGM. Use promo code GRINDERS for that risk-free bet up to $1,000. For BetMGM, for scoresandodds.com, I am Bear saying salut, guys. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll see you next week.
RotoGrinders NFL Crunch Time Week 18. I'm still not used to saying Week 18 because my brain still thinks there's only 17 regular season weeks from just the era we grew up in. But hey, it's Week 18. We had some Saturday football. Josh Dobbs almost took it to the Jaguars, but couldn't get there. And of course, the first game was a predictable snoozer, but we have a really interesting slate to play some daily fantasy sports on. I'm TheLuuch here with Rob and Andre. Great show from Squirrel and Beimfohr before. Big shout out to producer Steve for doing this thing for us. And, Erik said we could talk for 3 hours about this slate. There's a lot of ways you could go here. First of all, Rob, last crunch time you were on, you said you were the most handsome, best talent RotoGrinders had. And I was like, I don't know. But then you made the Mike Evans nuke call and it happened. So I guess we'll bring it back for another week. What's up?
I mean, I just state the facts. I stated Mike Evans was going to go off. I stated that I'm handsome, and everything was true. Everything was true.
All right, Dre. Are any of those factual, or should we just let Rob do his own thing here?
It's factual for the moment, but I'm gonna be in the competition today. I'm getting back in shape, so I can flex a little bit. Got the fresh cut, and I got ready to give out some good plays for some winners for everyone to hopefully come in second place behind me in some tournaments.
Nice.
Hit that like button. It's Isaiah Likely time, says TJ in the chat. So hit that like button in honor of him. And, if you are just joining us, and I don't know why, if you haven't checked out scoresnoz.com, definitely do so. Everything you need. A bunch of our RG guys are on there making expert picks. Parlay IQ is live for NFL and NBA. If you're into same game parlays, definitely check out Parlay IQ at scoresnoz.com. So let's just jump into it so we have some time for some questions. Make sure you're getting over there and putting them in our crunch time Discord channel where we will be looking first, and then of course we'll get to some YouTube questions if time permits. So
real quick, I think we need to remind everybody that Lineup HQ is free today. So if you want to use Lineup HQ, today's the day to do it. You should hop over. You can build your lineups, test it out, and you're going to see that you want to get this product so that you can be using it in the playoffs coming up next week.
Man, Rob in here saying things that make sense. So we'll just stick with you and talk to me about quarterback.
I'm limiting my player pool at quarterback this week quite a bit. I'm looking at some of the top guys that are playing for stuff. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Those are kind of where I've limited my player pool to. I understand Geno Smith as well, but for now, I'm just paying up at quarterback, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what you guys are doing, but is that where you're going with it too?
Personally, no. Well, yeah, I like Josh Allen a lot, but personally, I do like Geno Smith is coming in right now for me, my third highest owned quarterback. But just like on the last show, I'm going back with my guys. I'm gonna ride with them always because that's my team, the New Orleans Saints, with Andy Dalton against this team in Carolina that's been horrible the past few weeks defensively. So I want to attack that. They have nothing really to play for, so why not just play your guys out there? Have a chance to break some records out there with some of the wide receivers and get them some looks and see what they got for next year. So I like going with Andy Dalton a good amount here today. I do like Russell Wilson with that coaching change too a lot. I'm a little bit down on Joe Burrow now with the Baltimore Ravens news, and I'm not going to be able to pretty much compete with them or push them back a little bit more because he was going to be my highest owned quarterback, honestly, of the week until that news came out at 11:30. So I've been working everything around a lot, but Josh Allen is going to be obviously the number one quarterback for me, but followed by Andy Dalton and then a lot of Geno Smith and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, the Burrow news does make sense, but he was already coming in at my third. I'm lower on him than the other two guys, so I totally understand that. But I'm going to have a little bit of Burrow sprinkled into some of the bigger tournaments.
Same here.
I don't. We're talking about Mark Andrews not playing, right? Like we're talking about some more guys getting ruled out here for Baltimore. That's why you're lower on Burrow solely. Like you just think it's going to be a blowout.
It's Mark Andrews. They have the third string quarterback playing. The J.K. Dobbins is not even playing either. They're pretty much letting you know they're resting their guys to get ready for playoffs. Right. They don't care about this matchup. So, to me, Joe Burrow can put up 3 touchdowns, and that defense can play well enough where they don't need him or it could even be Mixon to get in the end zone. So, it just makes me not want to play as much Joe Burrow and just play more of the guys that have something to play for, or just playing in the game where they already been eliminated a couple weeks ago and they're just playing their guys.
remember a couple weeks ago when everyone was worried about, not everyone, where there were people worried about my God, I just cannot. Etienne getting, benched, or the Jaguar starters getting limited, and he hit the home run in the first quarter and it didn't matter. I'm not like blowing everything up that I have, just because I understand like maybe the game won't be competitive, but if all the points come in the first quarter and a half, which it might, I want some Bengals. So anyway.
I think that's a thing that people forget sometimes is in order to blow a team out, you still have to blow them out by scoring points. And whether you put 35 up in 3 quarters or 4 quarters, as long as the points are there, like it's going to probably be Burrow and Chase and Higgins. It could be Mixon as well, but I think there is still a potential scenario where they're rested by the third quarter and Burrow still has 30.
An hour later, when it's P. Ryan and the Bengals defense blowing up the slate, then I'll be eating my words. But running back gets interesting. So let's segue into there, Rob. What's going on here at running back for you?
Well, running back, I think, is the toughest of the entire week because these are the guys up top that we're like really concerned with playing time and stuff. Christian McCaffrey, Eckler, these are guys that we would normally want to play today. I'm staying away from them. And I'm kind of looking at like Najee Harris, which feels gross, but that's where I'm going. Ramondre on some bringbacks with Josh Allen. And if we want to we're going to be doing Jonathan Williams with Washington with everybody out for the Washington Commanders. And if you guys want my sneaky backdoor cheap play today that I haven't heard anyone else mention, and maybe someone else has, some of these teams are looking at who they got, right? They want to see who they brought in. The Denver Broncos traded for Chase Edmonds this year. They might want to see what they got with him. He started creeping up there in his snaps last week. I'm going to be sprinkling some Chase Edmonds in today into some of these lineups, including single entry stuff.
I like that call for tournaments. Go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked at Chase Edmonds earlier and eliminated him from my player pool today. But why Chase? Like, I understand you say you traded for him, but you don't think they were going to still try to give the ball to Latavius a lot more?
They're not bringing Latavius back next year. He's 137 years old. They traded for Chase Edmonds this year. His snap share went up and it almost matched Latavius's last week. Yeah. So why not just see what you got in Chase Edmonds? Do you want to bring him back to play with Javonte Williams, who might take a couple of weeks to get back next season, and he can carry the load for you for a little bit? That's if I was the Denver Broncos, that's the way I would play it. Now, I don't know who's coaching the Denver Broncos anymore. They finally got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. They might have a clown juggling on the sideline coaching them, and all hell breaks loose. But I think Chase Edmonds is a sneaky. I'm not saying to like jam him in at like 100% lock button him, but if you want like a little play that's cheap and can help you build some of these wide receivers and quarterbacks in, I like playing Chase Edmonds as like a contrarian play.
I'm gonna get a little bit of him now just because. And get rid of Murray. Sorry, that's over a little bit. I'm gonna do it.
Fair.
But my running back player pool, like I said, it is the hardest position today. I have a lot of running backs that I do kind of like in a way, but somehow when I'm running optimizer is limiting them to what I'm liking. But I find myself really, really being over on 2 specific guys. 3 actually. Kenneth Walker, Cam Akers, and Najee Harris. Those are are my top 3 favorite running backs on the slate. I do like Tyler Algier a little bit as well. He's probably going to be in the mix in there for round number 4 for me. I understand Jonathan Williams' price is really cheap, but he's still going against a Dallas front 7 that I think is pretty good, and they still have something to play for a little bit. I love Zach Moss a lot, so I love getting well over the field on him. I would love to play these Philly running backs, but it's just so hard. I don't know which one is going to go off. So I'm getting some Miles Sanders, but I'm a little bit lower on him because I don't know which one I want to go with. Let's see him and Boston Scott or Gainwell. So I do also like Alexander Madison a little bit too, and Foreman as well, if you want to mix them in with Chuba Herbert. But I'm going to mainly be going, like I said, with my main guys that I talked about at the beginning: Kenneth Walker, Akers, Harris, Algier a little bit, and some Zach Moss. It's going to be my top 5 that I'm going to be working with a lot. And now I'm probably going to mix in some Chase Edmonds too.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker's real nice today. I forgot to mention him, but he's probably going to be one of the highest owned guys on the slate, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think, but Cam Akers and Najee Harris are my 2 favorites.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many potential gross plays today. Like can I say Matt Breida for 150 maxers? Like, can I say Matt Breida might get snaps? He was, when he gets snaps, he's serviceable. He's a dump off king too. Like he's one of the kings of dump offs out of the bat. That just feels so gross, Matt Breida. But I mean, it's week 18, so I don't know.
King of dump off sounds gross too.
All right, wide receiver, 12:43 Eastern. We'll get to some questions at the end. So let me hear your thoughts on Jamar Chase. If you're not playing as much Burrow, are you guys knocking Chase down a couple pegs here? And also talk to me about T. Higgins.
Currently, personally, Jamar Chase is still in both of my single entry lineups, just because I think it goes back to the nuclear spot. He is a guy, even if he plays a half, could have 150 and a touchdown, on like 3 catches. So they still want to win this game. They're still in contention for the 2 seed. I know Baltimore is like reducing stuff here, but I don't know. I still like Chase a lot. I'm a Chase mark, so I'm going to be playing some Jamar Chase today. And I like Higgins. Like if you can't get up to Jamar Chase and you want to play Higgins, I'm totally okay with that. Like I don't have any issue with it. If I have one to choose though, and we have enough salary, especially with some of these running backs we're playing, I'm going up to Jamar Chase.
Drake?
Me at wide receiver, I'm getting a lot of Stephon Diggs. He's going to be my number 1 overall wide receiver on the day. Chase is up there in my top 5. But I do like Chris Olave a lot too as well. In my Andy Dalton stacks with Jacoby Myers, also running back on the other end. And Shaheed too as well, and DJ Moore. So like my theme is going to kind of focus on some game stacks. So like I said, with Diggs, I got Jacoby Myers, Chris Olave, and Shaheed. I got DJ Moore right up there. Then Jamar Chase breaks in there too a little bit. I love Isaiah McKenzie a lot today. DK Metcalf, as well as, and also Tyler Lockett. I love the Broncos receivers as well. T. Higgins is a little bit. I wasn't getting him before. For some reason, the optimizer doesn't like him a lot, but I forced him in. I'm getting probably at the field now with him. And I'm also getting a little bit of CeeDee Lamb to round out my top ones. But the sneaky guys that I do want to mention a little bit here, like Amari Cooper, I think is another good wide receiver play this week. A lot of Terry McLaurin possibly could be a good play. Justin Jefferson, I think is a fantastic play. Like he's going for the Randy Moss record, if I'm correct, we talked about before, and he killed
Megatron.
Yeah, Megatron. So he destroyed this team the last time and put up 33 fantasy points. Why can't he do it again? So if I understand we don't want to be high on them, but at least get at least 7%, which is half what the field is getting. I think it's a good amount to be, or at least 8, or if you want to match the field at 15, that's good. I do kind of like Drake London a little bit, and I love the DeAndre Carter and Elijah Moore because I think the Chargers are just going to be playing their backups today. So I'm kind of like focusing on that premises with that team too as well.
I think with Justin Jefferson, you're going to know within the first 2 drives if you're going to hit on him or not. Like I think you're going to know immediately if your lineup's alive or dead. So I think the risk is there, but like you said, his ownership number is like just continually to go down the toilet. So if he does pop, you have a chance of having the best wide receiver in the NFL at reduced ownership.
The Giants are another team who are just allegedly going to punt, right? That's what we've heard. They're probably not going to use, we talked about Matt Breida and things like that, but who's going to play wide receiver for the Giants is my question.
Well, they only have 2 on the team, right? Like they have like 2 wide receivers on their roster to begin with. So they're going to start bringing out some linemen or something, have number 69 line up on the edge over there, because how do they sit their wide receivers? They don't have any.
Marcus Johnson's the guy that goes from team to team and always mops up in trash time and then makes random spot starts. And I'm wasting American currency on a Jalen Hurts double stack with a Marcus Johnson. I can't even say it with a straight face. Bringing it back with Marcus Johnson, baby.
Gotta do it. Gotta fire Marcus Johnson in there.
Gotta fire him up. But really, I mainly wanted to talk about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith a little bit here because we're going to talk about Dallas Goedert. What is your interest with what's your interest here with the Eagles wide receivers? I mean, huge team total. Obviously, they want to play for the 1 seed. Everyone's worried about the blowout, rightfully so, massive spread. But there's got to be some Eagles in the player pool. So what do we got?
I'm locking AJ Brown on single entry stuff for me, especially on DK where he's only $500 more than Devonta Smith, and I like Devonta Smith a lot today as well. But AJ Brown is just another level of player, and you're telling me he's $500 more. And there's ways that I've worked out getting Chase, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs on rosters right now with Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, and I don't know how I don't do that. I'm probably going to lose all my money or something like that because of it, but you can physically do that or viably do that with some of these running back, tight end plays, defensive plays, and your roster looks really good. The other wide receivers I just want to hit on real quick. If you're looking to go dumpster diving, I like Elijah Moore with Joe Flacco a lot today. It's a viable option there, and we're talking about all these Bills stacks. Some of the bringbacks I think you should have is Tyquan Thornton at 3,400 is one of those two areas. Real cheap. He's been getting a ton of targets, ton of snaps. So if you want to bring back in that Buffalo game, which I don't think you have to have, but if you're looking for one, I would definitely do it with like Tyquan Thornton, maybe Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I'm playing some Jahan Dotson as well. I don't know. Sam Howell's at the helm. And I don't know how to feel about that, but it can't get much worse than what Carson Wentz was gifting the world with. So anyway, Jahan Dotson's too cheap. He's one of my cheaper guys. I like Squirrel's Shaheed call. The guy plays Shaheed every week, and we know the massive upside he has, and she's fantastic. But I thought Erik mentioning Olave, which no one's talking about either, is also interesting at receiver. Dre, you got anybody off the radar or any cheap guys you're looking at?
No, I mentioned all the cheap guys. I mentioned me playing Andy Dalton with those same stacks, so that's what I'm big on today. Like I said, it's my second highest on quarterback. Other than that, I'm gonna keep it simple and run everyone else out there. McKenzie, I'm big on a lot today with those incentives and the matchup against the Patriots.
Did we mention Amari Cooper, the three of us? Anybody have thoughts on Amari Cooper?
Yeah, I love Amari Cooper.
Yeah. He's got some incentive. The coaches want him to get the record, whatever he's chasing. And, there's some coach speak in there, a little motivation factor. I like Cooper as well. Let's talk about tight end, then we'll take some questions. So, okay, Isaiah Likely, are you in or out?
In, all the way.
Yeah.
That's my guy. I love Isaiah Likely today.
I've been in on Likely since best ball season. How can I not be in on Isaiah Likely for week 18?
Of course. Any of those high-end guys you're interested in? Kittle, Hockenson, Goddard. Rob, what are your thoughts on those guys up top?
I mean, if I'm playing any of them, it's got to be Goddard, just because, again, the Eagles are technically playing for something today. They want that 1 seed. We are concerned about blowouts, but I think you're going to get 2 to 3 quarters, and the Eagles can put up 35 points in 3 quarters, no problem. So Goddard might be, of the high-price guys, the one that I would veer to, but I'm more so going towards some of the cheaper guys today at tight end.
Dre?
Tight end, I am David Njoku's coming as my top tight end I like today, followed by Isaiah Likely and Tyler Higbee. Those are my top 3 guys I'm getting in. I'm trying to not go with the popular ones really a lot. I do like Jawan Johnson a lot since he got ruled in. Hayden Hurst, I do like him a good amount. Frymuth is always someone that I think is interesting, but Albert O as well. And also, I don't think no one talked about Noah Fant, but I think he's someone that is definitely viable with your Geno Smith stacks today.
Yeah, and Luuch over on FanDuel, that Lions and Packers game is live on the main slate, so we can play Robert Tonyan.
Why is FanDuel doing this again? Why are we doing this again?
I don't know. But if you want to get a little wild and crazy and you want to play Aaron Rodgers doubles with Robert Tonyan and Christian Watson, maybe Amon-Ra bring back or DeAndre Swift bring back, at least you're live until 11 p.m. tonight.
Oh man, it's not for me today, but I understand it. Well,
Right.
that's a good segue. Our first question in the Discord is a FanDuel cash question, and Rob, I'll leave it with you.
Sure.
Any love for playing St. Brown in cash? Nothing like wait until 11:30 to see if you cash double ups on FanDuel.
I don't hate it. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's might have cooled off the last few weeks, but we know like what this guy's upside is. The Detroit Lions might not be playing for anything tonight, but I don't think that means that they're not going to play. Like I think we've heard everybody say that. We still think Detroit's going to come out and play a hard football game, play their guys just to keep getting them ready for the next season, because next season is going to be a real prove it year for them. And I think they're going to play everybody tonight.
Hit that like button, drop some questions in the Discord. That's where our eyes are. Currently, FanDuel cash question for you, Dre. Stephon Diggs or Jamar Chase? Straight up.
Diggs.
Rob, you got any input on that one?
I mean, it's probably Diggs, but it's like super duper close for me. Both.
That's fair. FanDuel single entry question from Prodigy. Let's see. Dre, I'll throw it over to you first. Jalen Hurts and Isaiah Likely or Joe Burrow and Tyler Higbee?
Hurts, Likely, Burrow, Higbee. I like, man. Give me the second one.
Rob, thoughts?
Give me Hurts. Give me Hurts.
All right. Difference of opinions there between the fellas for sure. A couple people typing in the Discord. I will look at scroll up for a couple YouTube questions while we're here. Hit that like button before TJ gets mad at me and starts trolling me in the chat. Okay, let's see. Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in cash, Dre?
Give me Josh Allen.
I just woke up from a coma. Can I play Wes Welker? I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. On this slate, anything's possible. If you can find Wes Welker in the player pool, I mean, at this point, go for it. Let's see here.
I'm kind of figuring, do I even want to play Hurts today now?
Oh, that's a good midlife crisis at 12:55, 5 minutes before the slate locks.
Well, we got a question from Alex in the Discord. DK GPP single entry with 14,000 entrants. How am I spending the cash? Only tuning in right now. Well, can we give a quick summary? Is you have a lot to catch up on, and you have like 4 minutes to pencil in a lineup. So you're taking, like, if you're slapping something together, there's a lot of cheap running backs. Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Kenneth Walker's a fantastic play. I think we all agree on Kenneth Walker. Wide receiver, you're looking at Chase, you're looking at Diggs, you're looking at Justin Jefferson if you're chasing the narrative and looking for a spend up. Literally, there's so much to really.
You're spending up at quarterback. You're playing 2 cheap running backs. You're playing 3 expensive wide receivers, 1 cheap wide receiver, 1 cheap tight end, and a cheap defense.
I mean, you don't have to spend up a quarterback. I mean,
you are. But
you should, I guess. I mean, maybe I have a Sam Howell lineup somewhere. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Any love for Tampa Bay players? What were any Buccaneers?
No.
We are on the greens on that. No Tampa Bay.
If any, Rashad White. But, like, you're not playing any of the other passing game guys at all.
Any love for a Cordell Patterson pivot off Algier, guys?
I wanted to, but I think it's going to give. Why not give the young guy the work?
Yeah, I agree with that.
FanDuel cash, Rob, Stephon Diggs and Shaheed, or Metcalf and Olave?
Diggs and Shaheed.
All right, Dre, FanDuel, McCaffrey and Shaheed, or Kenneth Walker and Diggs?
Walker and Diggs. I'm not playing no McCaffrey today. I'm not playing no one from San Francisco today. That's just because I think they don't really need the game. They're fine either way. They could get the number 2 seed, I think, or number 1 seed, but I don't think that's going to be that important for them.
Let's see here. 12:57. Make sure you're hitting that save button on your lineup soon. Top quarterback for cash games on DK. Anybody want to reiterate that?
Top quarterbacks on DK?
For cash.
Josh Allen probably is the top guy.
Yep, I agree.
Is Jamal Williams the sneakiest play today?
Jamal Williams. Well, he's only on
FanDuel. I mean, sure.
I like that whole game as a nice little game stack with maybe having like a few pieces from other games, because that late game on FanDuel could really go off.
Yeah.
Hurts and AJ Brown or Allen and Diggs for FanDuel tournament. So basically, you're on the Eagles or are you on the Bills today?
I mean, I'm playing one of each, but I guess it's Allen Diggs if I have to edge one out.
Yeah. I only have like 5 Josh Allen stacks.
Rob, did anyone tell you you're jacked and tan today? Said RotoGrinders.com.
I mean, as soon as I wake up in the morning,
company on your side now.
Have you seen the video?
I want to see the video. Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith?
Rodgers for fun.
Geno.
How do you feel about Van Jefferson?
He's fine, I guess. Like if he's the last player in, I'm not like building a lineup around him, I would say.
Thoughts on George Kittle? I know you mentioned San Fran and you're out on them, Dre. If you're out on them, maybe Rob has any thoughts on Kittle?
I'm not playing San Fran guys either. Like, because I think they're like the most unknown team on the slate, to be perfectly honest. So I'm just kind of veering away from the 49ers.
I'm pretty sure this is Hunter Henry and Miami defense, or Isaiah Lakely and Minnesota defense.
I kind of like the Henry Miami.
Hey, let's not forget about Hayden Hurst this week again.
Right.
By the way.
Yeah.
I don't mind Hayden Hurst. He had one catch in the game that didn't happen, but I mean, he was amped up. From the small sample size we saw, he looked pretty good. I'm just saying. Easy to fit in those Bengals builds. 12:59, hit that save button. Jamal going for Barry Sanders' record today.
I think we've kind of nailed it. We have 1 minute left. We've exposed all the winning plays. I told you guys to play Chase Edmonds. I want that written down and put in the history books for when he, goes off for like 70 yards and a touchdown with like 3 catches later.
I like that call. I only want everyone to remember Marcus Johnson if he actually plays.
There you go. That'll be a fun one to watch now. I'll be looking for Marcus Johnson. He might be on my couch watching with me. He might not even be playing. He might just show up with some pizza or something. But
knock the door. Hey, I heard you're handsome.
I'm so handsome and jacked and tan. It's not even funny.
All right, we hit roster lock. That's it. The regular season fun for NFL Crunch Time is over. The regular season fun. That's it, guys. Should we get out of here?
Yeah, go. Since it got brought up, go watch my video of me drafting the $2 million winning team with Pat Kerrane, and you'll see why I'm so jacked and tan.
Must be nice. All right. So for Rob, Dre, producer Steve, and everyone else that was on the shows before us, we appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Hopefully we can make some money. I'm TheLuuch. Good luck, everybody. Have a good day.
Peace.